Chapter 1. Summer don't last forever. Summer in the Burg always smelled like salt, weed smoke, and money that hadn't cooled off yet. Leo felt it before he saw it, the hum of St. Pete nights buzzing through his veins like a low bass line. Boats rocked lazily against the docks, lights blinking like jewelry on dark water. Palm trees leaned in, as if even they wanted to hear what the city was whispering tonight. This was his city. At least, it used to be. Once upon a summer, Leo had everything. Not just the illusion of it, the real thing. Platinum records hanging like trophies. Women who laughed too loud and stayed too late. Mansions that echoed when he walked through them barefoot at 3 a.m. Success didn't knock on his door. It kicked it in and made itself comfortable. Leo moved like a man who knew the world owed him something. Head high, smile dangerous. The kind of confidence you don't learn, you survive into it. But money changes temperature fast. One bad deal turns into two. One favor owed becomes a debt. And in the Burg, debts don't wait politely. Tonight, Leo sat in the backseat of a blacked-out car, rolling through streets he helped put on the map. Neon signs smeared across the windows like memories he couldn't quite wipe away. His phone buzzed, then buzzed again. Ignored. Outside, laughter spilled from clubs. Bass thumped through concrete. Summer was still partying, but Leo could feel the season shifting, like the moment right before a storm breaks. "Something feel off to you?" one of his boys muttered from the front seat. Leo didn't answer right away. He stared out at the city, the reflection of his own face floating in the glass, older than it should be, sharper around the edges. "Summer always feels good right before it kills you," he finally said. The car slowed. That's when Leo realized they weren't where they were supposed to be. The engine cut. Silence rushed in, loud as a gunshot. Doors opened, and just like that, the Burg showed its other face. No lights, no music, just breath, footsteps, and a debt that had finally come to collect. Leo stepped out of the car, heart steady but instinct screaming. He didn't beg, never did. In this city, fear was currency, and he'd already spent enough. What happened next would be whispered about, argued over, rewritten depending on who told it. Some say Leo died that night. Some say he never really lived past it. And some swear he came back wrong. All anyone agrees on is this: summer in the Burg ended the moment Leo hit the ground. And the story? That was only just beginning. Chapter 2. Left in the heat. Leo didn't feel pain at first. That came later, after the sound left. After the stars blurred into one long smear of light above him. Right now, there was only weight. Heavy. Pressing. Like the whole city had leaned down and put its knee on his chest. The ground was warm, still holding the day's heat. Asphalt and dirt mixed with the metallic taste in his mouth. Somewhere nearby, waves slapped wood in an unbothered rhythm. The bird kept breathing, even when you stopped. Footsteps faded, a laugh, distant, careless, then nothing. Time stopped behaving the way it used to. Seconds stretched, folded in on themselves. Leo drifted in and out, caught between dreams and something darker. Faces floated past, women he couldn't remember the names of, stages lit so bright they burned white. His mama's voice telling him to slow down. "Slow down, baby, you going too fast." His chest twitched. No air came. Across town, summer was still loud. Somewhere, champagne popped. Somewhere, a song he'd helped make was rattling a club's walls. But here, in this forgotten stretch of the Burg, Leo was just another body cooling under the Florida sky. That's when the car headlights appeared. Not rushing, not panicked, almost hesitant. Two figures stepped out, silhouettes first, then familiar shapes as they got closer. Man, that looked like... Don't say it. They stood over him, frozen. These weren't strangers. These were the ones who'd eaten at his table, rode his winds, took pictures in his houses like they owned them. Friends, if the word still meant anything. One knelt, fingers trembling as he checked Leo's neck. I don't feel... Check again. He did. Longer this time. Too long. Silence settled between them, thick and guilty. Leo, one whispered, like saying it softer might wake him. But Leo didn't move, didn't breathe, didn't do anything a living man was supposed to do. Man, we can't leave him, the other said, voice cracking. Not like this. Leaving him was already done. They just hadn't admitted it yet. They lifted him, careful, almost respectful now, like he could still feel it. Every movement felt wrong, illegal somehow. The car door creaked open. Leo's head lolled to the side, mouth open, eyes shut like he was mid-thought. As they drove, something strange happened. The air inside the car shifted, not colder, not warmer, heavier, like someone else had climbed in without opening a door. Neither of them spoke about it. They just felt it. Pressure behind the eyes, a prickling along the arms. One of them glanced in the rearview mirror and swore. For half a second, Leo's chest moved. He blinked. Nothing. They didn't know it yet, but the choice they were making, where they were taking him, was about to break every rule between life and whatever waits after. Because some doors don't stay shut once you knock, and in the Burg, the dead don't always stay quiet. Chapter 3. The Woman Who Doesn't Ask Questions. They didn't take Leo to a hospital. That would have meant paperwork, lights, questions with sharp edges, a time of death they didn't want to hear spoken out loud. Instead, the car turned down streets that didn't show up on postcards, the kind of blocks where houses leaned instead of stood straight, and the air felt older than the buildings. Spanish moss hung low, like it was listening. Neither of them said her name at first. You didn't say it unless you had to. The house sat back from the road, paint peeling, porch light flickering like it might give up at any second. No neighbors watching, no dogs barking, just cicadas screaming like they knew something was about to happen. They carried Leo inside. The smell hit immediately. Herbs, smoke, something sweet and rotten at the same time. Candles burned everywhere. Wax melted down into thick, uneven scars. The walls were crowded with objects, bones, photos, jars with things inside you didn't want to look at too closely. She stood waiting, old but not weak. Skin dark and lined, like it had learned secrets instead of wrinkles. Her eyes locked onto Leo the moment they stepped through the door. "You late," she said. No hello, no shock, no surprise at the body. One of the guys swallowed. Something went wrong. She waved a hand. Something always go wrong. They laid Leo down on the table in the center of the room. Wood creaked under his weight. For a moment, he looked peaceful, like he'd finally stopped running. The woman leaned over him, fingers hovering just above his chest. She didn't touch him yet. She listened, not with her ears. "This one," she said quietly. "He already halfway gone." "Can you fix him?" the other asked. She finally looked up at them then. Her stare was sharp enough to cut skin. "I don't fix," she said. "I bargain." The room felt smaller after that. She began to move, slow, deliberate, lighting incense, murmuring words that didn't belong to any language they knew. Smoke curled thick around the ceiling. The air buzzed, low and electric, like the moment right before lightning hits. Leo's fingers twitched. Both men froze. "You see that? I ain't blind." The woman smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "He hear me," she said. "Problem is, I don't know who else hearing too." She placed her hand flat on Leo's chest. For the first time since the Burg left him bleeding in the dark, Leo inhaled. It wasn't a full breath, more like a gasp, violent, wrong, desperate. His back arched, eyes flew open, and whatever stared up at the ceiling, it wasn't the same man they brought in. The candles flickered hard, like something had passed through them. The woman snatched her hand back. "Oh," she whispered, "this gonna cost." Outside, the night pressed closer to the house, and somewhere between life and death, Leo took his first breath back into the world, dragging something unseen along with him. Chapter 4. The Wrong Kind of Awake. Leo came back slow. Not like in the movies. No dramatic sit-up, no coughing fit that made everything okay again. Consciousness crept in like it wasn't sure it was allowed. Sound first, a low hum, then heat, then the smell. Smoke, metal, something bitter that sat in the back of his throat. He tried to move. His body didn't answer right away. When his eyes finally opened, the room looked tilted, like reality had slipped half an inch to the left and never bothered correcting itself. Candles burned too bright. Shadows clung too long. Everything felt slightly delayed, like the world was buffering. He breathed. That part worked. It just didn't feel earned. "You don't move yet," a woman's voice said, calm, certain. Leo's eyes slid toward the sound. The old woman stood near the table, arms folded, watching him like a doctor watching a patient she wasn't sure belonged to her anymore. "Where?" His voice came out rough, scraped raw. "Still here," she said. "That's the problem." Memory rushed him all at once. The car, the stop, the dark, the moment the city turned its back. He tried to sit up. Pain hit, but dull, distant, like it belonged to someone else. "What happened to me?" he asked. The woman didn't answer immediately. Instead, she glanced past him. Leo followed her eyes. That's when he saw it. Someone stood in the corner of the room. No, someone wasn't right. The shape was there, clear enough to notice, but wrong in ways Leo couldn't explain, like a reflection that didn't quite match the body. The figure leaned casually against the wall, hands in pockets, head tilted as if amused. It didn't speak, didn't move, just watched. Leo's heart kicked hard. Who the hell is that? Both of his friends went still. "What you mean?" one asked carefully. "That," Leo swallowed, suddenly dry. "That dude in the corner." They looked. Nothing. They looked back at Leo. "There ain't nobody there, bro." The woman exhaled slowly, not surprised, not shocked, almost annoyed. She murmured. "He see you already." The figure in the corner smiled. Leo's pulse thudded in his ears. "See who?" The woman stepped closer, lowering her voice. "What came back with you?" A silence fell heavy and final. Leo looked again. The figure lifted one hand, not waving, not threatening, just acknowledging, like they'd met before. Leo didn't know it yet, but that presence wasn't a hallucination, wasn't a side effect, wasn't leaving. It was a chaperone, a reminder, and maybe a countdown. Because some souls don't get saved, they get borrowed. Chapter 5. Act like you breathing. They waited a full day before taking Leo outside. Not because he wasn't moving, he was. Walking even, talking, laughing once or twice like he remembered how. But everything about him felt slightly off, like a song played at the wrong speed, close enough to fool you if you weren't listening hard. Leo noticed it first in the mirror. His reflection stared back a beat too long. Same face, same scar near the eyebrow, same confident tilt to the mouth. But the eyes looked deeper, darker somehow, like they'd seen a room most people never entered. "You good?" one of his friends asked from behind him. Leo nodded. "Yeah, I'm good." The words came easy, too easy. They dressed him like nothing happened, fresh clothes, jewelry back on, sunglasses even though it was cloudy. If the city saw him walking, breathing, talking, then the rumors stayed rumors. That was the plan. As they stepped outside, the heat hit Leo different. Not painful, not uncomfortable, just loud. Every sound felt closer, every color sharper. He could hear a conversation down the block, smell someone's cologne before they passed. And underneath it all, always there, that quiet presence. The silent figure walked beside him now, matching his pace. Hands still in pockets, calm as ever. If Leo slowed, it slowed. If he stopped, it stopped. "You following me now?" Leo muttered under his breath. The figure didn't respond, didn't need to. The car ride through the Burg felt like deja vu layered on top of guilt. People waved, heads nodded, phones came out. "Thought you was dead, man," someone shouted from a corner store. Leo smiled automatically. "Hard to kill." The words landed wrong in his chest. His friends exchanged a look. This was the game now. Every appearance mattered. Every move had to say alive. They answered calls for him, set meetings they never intended to finish, showed his face just long enough to keep the illusion warm. But the city knew. The Burg always knows. At a stoplight, Leo caught his reflection in the window again. For half a second, the silent figure stood where his reflection should be, smiling wide, eyes knowing. The light turned green. "Yo," Leo said quietly, "how long this last?" His friend tightened his grip on the steering wheel. "Long as it gotta." Leo leaned back, watching palm trees blur past. Summer was still here, still loud, still tempting, but now he could feel the clock, ticking without sound. And somewhere deep inside, Leo understood something terrifying. He wasn't cheating death, he was on loan. Chapter 6, The Burg. Don't forget. The first crack showed up at a party. It always does. Big house near the water, lights spilling everywhere, music thumping hard enough to shake glass. The kind of night Leo used to run like a landlord collecting rent. Handshakes, hugs, shots poured before he even asked. When he walked in, heads turned, energy shifted. Not hype, not fear, confusion. "Yo, ain't that? I swear I heard." "Nah, he right there." Leo smiled, automatic, practiced. He hugged who reached for him, let the music carry him forward. His friends stayed close, too close, like bodyguards pretending not to be scared. That's when it hit him. The bass dropped, and Leo didn't feel it. Not in his chest, not in his bones. He heard it, clear as day. But the vibration, the part that used to live inside him, was gone. He paused mid-step. "You straight?" his friend asked. Leo nodded, but the room tilted. Laughter stretched too long. Faces blurred at the edges. The air felt thick, like he was walking through water. And then someone brushed past him, just a shoulder, but Leo flinched hard. Cold shot through him. Not pain, absence. Like something had passed through him instead of touching him. The silent figure appeared instantly, standing between Leo and the crowd now. Closer than ever. Head tilted, eyes locked on Leo's like, "Told you." Leo backed toward the wall, breath shallow. "Not here," he whispered. "Not now." The figure didn't move. Across the room, a girl stared straight at Leo, not smiling, not dancing, just watching him with a look that made his stomach drop. She mouthed two words, "You dead." Leo's heart kicked, harder than it had since he woke up. The lights flickered, just once, enough for people to notice. "Yo, what was that? Power good?" Leo pushed past bodies, heading for the door. Every step felt heavier, like gravity was remembering him. Outside, the night air slapped him awake. He bent over, hands on knees, trying to breathe like a living man. The silent figure stood beside him, calm as ever. "What you want from me?" Leo snapped under his breath. The figure finally reacted, not with words, with a gesture. It pointed, down the street, where police lights flashed briefly in the distance. Then it pointed at Leo's chest. Then it made a slow, slicing motion across its own neck. Leo straightened slowly. "You keeping me alive or keeping me in line?" he asked. The figure smiled again, soft, almost kind. That's when Leo understood the rules were changing. The Burg wasn't fooled anymore, and whatever brought him back, it wasn't done collecting. Chapter 7. The One Who Knows. Leo couldn't sleep, not because of fear, because sleep wouldn't take him. Every time he closed his eyes, he felt like he was falling into a place with no bottom, like whatever brought him back refused to let him drift too far from the surface. Morning crept in slow, pale, and unforgiving. His friends argued in the kitchen, voices low but sharp. "We can't keep dragging him outside like this. We don't got a choice. We do if he drops in front of people." Leo sat on the edge of the bed, elbows on his knees, staring at the floor. The silent figure stood by the window now, watching the street like a security guard on duty. Always there, never interfering unless it had to. A knock came at the door, 3 short taps. Everyone froze. "I got it," Leo said, standing before either of them could stop him. The girl from the party stood outside. Daylight made her presence worse, not better. She looked normal, jeans, tank top, sunglasses, but her eyes stayed locked on Leo's face like she was reading subtitles no one else could see. "You shouldn't be walking around," she said. No greeting, no hesitation. Leo smirked out of habit. "People been telling me what I shouldn't do my whole life." She didn't smile. "I saw you last night," she said. "I see things other people don't." His friends hovered behind him, tense. Leo stepped outside, closing the door behind him. "Say what you gotta say." She leaned in slightly, lowering her voice. "You don't belong all the way here, and whatever brought you back, it's not finished." Leo felt it then, that pressure in his chest, like the silent figure had stepped closer without moving. "You into spooky stories or something?" he asked. She shook her head. "I grew up around them." She glanced past Leo, eyes narrowing. "There's someone standing behind you." Leo didn't turn. "You can see him?" he asked quietly. She nodded once. "Not clearly, but I can feel him. He ain't your enemy." "That don't mean he my friend." She met his gaze, serious now. "He's your leash." That word hit harder than anything else. Before Leo could respond, she backed away. "People like you don't get second chances for free," she said. "When the Burg starts pushing back harder, listen to him." Then she walked off, disappearing down the street like she'd never been there. Leo stood still for a long moment. Inside, his friends watched through the window, waiting. The silent figure finally moved, stepping closer, placing an invisible weight beside Leo's shoulder. Not threatening, not comforting, present. Leo exhaled slowly. "Guess we ain't just pretending no more," he muttered. The figure didn't disagree, because the truth was leaking now, through strangers, through lights flickering, through the way the city reacted to him. And once the Burg starts noticing ghosts, it doesn't stop until something gets paid back. Chapter 8. Rules You Don't Make. Leo walked the street slow. Summer was still loud around him, but everything felt sharper, more deliberate, like the city was watching him differently now. Every laugh from a corner, every honk, Even the distant slap of waves against the docks, it all had meaning. It all felt like a warning. His friends trailed behind him, hands twitchy near their pockets, eyes darting like they were guarding secrets that might explode at any second. The silent figure stayed a step off to the side, calm, untouchable. But Leo felt it everywhere. Every breath, every heartbeat, every misstep. "Yo," one of his friends finally muttered, voice low. "You can't keep pretending forever." Leo glanced over his shoulder. "You mean I can't keep acting alive?" "Exactly." He didn't answer because he already knew. Acting was one thing, being alive was another. And the longer he moved through the Burg, the more he realized that the difference was thin, almost invisible, and yet impossible to ignore. They stopped at the corner of an alley, quiet except for the buzz of neon from a club across the street. Leo leaned back, resting one hand on the brick wall. "Why me?" he asked finally, voice barely above the hum of the city. "Why didn't you leave me?" The silent figure didn't answer, not in words. Instead, it shifted its weight, just enough to make Leo's stomach tighten. A memory flashed, candles burning, the old woman's hands over his chest, the gasp that dragged him back. "You weren't supposed to come back," Leo said, more to himself than anyone else. "You were supposed to go." The figure stepped forward. For the first time, its presence pressed down on him, not threatening, but unavoidable. And for the first time, Leo felt it was explaining, though silently, that some things weren't about choice. Some things were about balance. "The Burg don't do favors," Leo whispered, almost afraid he'd spoken aloud. "Everything comes with a cost." The silent figure inclined its head slightly, not agreement, not warning, confirmation. And Leo knew, right then, the rules weren't his to break. They were only his to follow. He exhaled, slow and deliberate, eyes scanning the streets. He had to keep moving, keep pretending, keep surviving. Because every step he took, the Burg was counting. And every time he ignored it, it marked him. Behind him, his friends stayed tight, shadows among shadows. They didn't understand fully yet, but they would. The Burg was about to remind all of them exactly who owed what. And Leo? He was learning, fast, that being alive didn't mean he was free. It just meant the game had only begun. Chapter 9. The Burg Strikes Back. The night came fast, like it had been waiting for him. Leo moved through the streets with purpose, but purpose felt wrong. Music thumped from the clubs, laughter rang from the corners, but every sound seemed to twist under his ears, too sharp, too loud. The city was awake, and it wasn't happy. A black SUV rolled past, windows tinted so dark it was impossible to see faces inside. Tires squealed against the asphalt when it stopped ahead, lights flashing briefly, then disappearing around the block. His heart skipped. "Something's up," one friend whispered. Leo didn't answer. He didn't need to. The silent figure was already there, just off to the side, watching, waiting. Its presence pressed against his chest, heavy and certain. A shadow moved across the sidewalk, a man Leo recognized instantly. Not a friend, not someone he owed. Someone who remembered every slight, every deal gone bad, every advantage Leo ever had and wanted it back. Leo's stomach twisted. "It's him," he muttered. The man stopped a few feet away, arms folded, expression sharp. "Didn't think you'd be walking," he said, voice calm but dangerous. Leo forced a smile. "I'm alive," he said, letting the word fall flat. The man didn't flinch. He knew. Everyone in the Burg knew now. A single gun clicked inside the SUV. Flash. A warning. Leo's friends tensed. They whispered, trying to figure out what to do, but Leo held up a hand. He didn't need them to fight. Not yet. The silent figure shifted slightly, just a nudge of presence, and Leo realized it was more than a watcher. It was a guide, a shield. He took a breath, not the shallow, wrong kind from the old woman's house, a real one, or as real as he could manage. "Let's walk," Leo said, voice steady. The rival didn't move, not back, not forward, just stared. Then he nodded, slowly, as if acknowledging a fact he couldn't change. The SUV pulled away, lights fading. Leo exhaled, chest tight, eyes scanning the street. The Burg don't forget, and neither do they forgive. One of his friends muttered, voice low, "Man, what is he?" Leo didn't answer. He looked to the corner of his vision, where the silent figure lingered, and knew the truth. He wasn't just alive. He wasn't just walking through the city. He was being watched, tested, guided, and every step forward had a price. The city hummed around him, indifferent, aware, alive. And Leo realized, finally, survival wasn't about running from death anymore. It was about keeping pace with something far older, far smarter, and far more patient than he could ever imagine. The game had changed, and he didn't have a choice but to play. Chapter 10. Lessons in Shadows. Leo hadn't slept all night, not because he was scared, but because the Burg itself refused to let him. Every corner seemed sharper, every whisper louder, every shadow stretching longer than it should. His friends followed close, trying to act like nothing was wrong, but the tension was thick enough to taste. One wrong look, one misstep, and everything would blow. That's when the phone rang. Leo glanced at the screen, unknown number. "Guess I gotta take it," he muttered, voice low. He answered, "You're awake." The old woman's voice cut through the line, calm, cold, certain. "I am," Leo said. "Good," she replied, "but awake doesn't mean free. You're dancing with forces you don't understand. Every breath you take, every step you walk, the Burg is watching, and I am watching too." Leo's chest tightened. "What do you want from me?" "Balance," she said simply. "You took what wasn't yours. You came back when you shouldn't have. You will survive, yes, but survival comes with rules. Break them, and you'll find out just how wrong you were to return." Leo hung up, jaw tight. "Everything okay?" one friend asked nervously. Leo didn't answer. He didn't need to. The silent figure standing just behind him seemed to lean closer, as if agreeing with the old woman. The city's hum grew heavier. Footsteps echoed where none should be. Somewhere in the distance, sirens wailed, but they weren't for him, at least not yet. "You gotta start listening," the figure seemed to whisper, even though it didn't speak. Leo's eyes darted to it. He couldn't deny it any longer. Whatever had returned with him wasn't just a ghostly observer. It was a chaperone, a guard, and maybe the only thing keeping him alive. And it had rules of its own. Rules he was about to learn the hard way. Chapter 11. Test of the Burg. Leo had barely taken 2 steps into the street when the sound hit him. Not music, not traffic. Footsteps. Slow, intentional, echoing off the walls of the alley like a heartbeat he couldn't escape. He froze. His friends tensed behind him, eyes darting. The silent figure stayed at his side, calm, just slightly ahead, like it could see every angle at once. From the shadows, a figure emerged, the same man from the SUV, the one who remembered every wrong move, every deal Leo had walked away from. "Thought you were dead," the man said, voice even but sharp as a blade. Leo forced a smile. "Thought I was too." The man stepped closer. Funny thing about death, sometimes it comes back to collect. Leo's friends exchanged worried glances. One muttered under his breath, "Man, this ain't gonna end good." The silent figure shifted, moving just slightly in front of Leo, not touching him, not speaking, but the presence was undeniable, protective, authoritative, unyielding. The rival pulled a gun, smooth, intentional, pointed straight at Leo. Time slowed. The city seemed to hush. Music from the nearby club faded into silence. Even the wind stopped. Leo didn't move. His chest tightened, not with fear, but anticipation. He felt the pull of something ancient, something waiting. The silent figure's presence pressed heavier against him. "Step back," Leo said quietly. Not to the rival, not even to his friends, to the invisible force at his side. And then it acted. A single motion, so subtle most people would miss it, but the rival stumbled, foot caught on a crack in the asphalt, gun hand wobbling. Leo exhaled, slow. "See? Told you I got back up." The rival scrambled, swearing under his breath, realizing the odds had shifted. He made a decision. "Next time, you won't get lucky," he spat, backing off into the shadows. Leo watched him disappear. Then he turned to the silent figure. "You saved me," he whispered. The figure didn't respond, just stood there, waiting, watching. Leo's friends approached, relief written all over their faces. "Man, what the hell was that?" Leo shook his head. Not who, what. He knew, deep down, this was only the first test. The Burg wasn't done. The old woman wasn't done. And whatever had returned with him, whatever lived beside him in silence, was only just getting started. And Leo realized survival wasn't about strength, luck, or charm anymore. It was about obedience. And obedience had rules he hadn't even begun to learn. Chapter 12. Rules broken, prices paid. The next night came with no mercy. Leo had gone out alone for the first time since his return, thinking he could test the limits, walk the streets, see if anyone really noticed. But the city doesn't forget, and the Burg, it doesn't forgive. He turned a corner and felt it immediately, a weight, heavier than anything before. Shadows stretching across the sidewalk, whispering names he didn't want to hear. The hairs on his arms stood straight. The silent figure materialized beside him, calm, expression unreadable, but presence screaming warning. Leo's chest tightened. Something wasn't right. He turned, just slightly, to check. A man ran out of the shadows, not the rival from the SUV, but someone new, unknown, dangerous, someone the Burg had sent as a message. The man lunged, knife glinting under the streetlights. Leo froze. Instincts told him to fight, to run, but something in the air told him this wasn't about strength. The silent figure moved first, not a sound, not a gesture, just a pressure, and the attacker stopped mid-step, dropped the knife, and stumbled back like he'd hit an invisible wall. Leo's breath caught. What did you do?" The figure didn't answer, but it pressed closer, and Leo felt it clearly. This wasn't protection. This was punishment in waiting. A voice broke the tension. The old woman stepped from the shadows herself, calm, eyes like fire. "You broke the rules," she said. "No anger, just fact. You thought returning was a gift. It's a loan, and loans must be repaid." Leo swallowed hard. "I didn't. You distracted," she said. "You tested limits. You drew attention. Every action has a cost, Leo. The Burg notices, and so do I." The silent figure shifted, just slightly, almost playfully. For the first time, it felt human, a nudge of humor in the midst of terror. Leo's friends flinched, unsure if they should laugh or cry. The old woman raised a hand. The attacker groaned, stumbling backward, clutching his chest. Not dead, not alive exactly, but reminded of the price for crossing boundaries. "You survive," she said to Leo, stepping closer. "But every step forward will be measured, every choice watched. And you," her eyes bored into him, "will learn that nothing comes free." Leo's knees buckled slightly, the weight of the night pressing down. His friends caught him, relief and terror mixing in the air. The silent figure stood at his side, just far enough to remind him. Rules weren't suggestions, and obedience wasn't optional. Leo exhaled slowly. He'd survived. But for the first time, he understood that being alive didn't mean he was free. It meant he was debt-bound to the Burg, to the woman, to whatever force had returned him. And the debt had only just begun. Chapter 13. Breathing on Borrowed Time. After that night, Leo stopped pretending he was normal. He still moved through the Burg, still showed his face, still smiled when cameras came out, but inside, something had shifted. The confidence wasn't gone, it was sharper now, edged with understanding. He knew he was being measured. Every step felt counted, every choice weighed. The city wasn't reacting to him anymore, it was studying him. The silent figure stayed closer than ever, sometimes ahead of him, sometimes behind, never touching, never speaking. But when Leo made the wrong turn, it subtly redirected him, blocking a doorway, standing where danger waited, forcing him to pause just long enough for trouble to pass. His friends noticed. "You see that?" one whispered late one night. "See what?" He almost walked into that spot, then stopped, like something told him not to. Leo heard them, but didn't explain. How could he? How do you tell someone you're alive because something else won't let you die yet? Sleep came in fragments now. When he dreamed, he stood in places that felt unfinished, half-lit streets, empty rooms, doorways that opened into nothing. The silent figure was always there, patient, waiting for him to catch up. One night, Leo finally broke. He stood on the rooftop of a condo overlooking the water, city lights blinking like nervous thoughts. Wind rolled off the bay, warm and restless. "Why me?" he asked again, louder this time. "Out of everybody, why didn't you just let me go?" The figure stepped closer than it ever had. For the first time, Leo felt something pass between them, not words, but truth. He saw flashes, moments he'd forgotten, times he should have died before this night, deals that fell apart just in time, bullets that missed, cars that didn't hit him when they should have. This wasn't his first escape. He'd been skirting the edge for years. "You've been watching me," Leo said quietly. The figure didn't deny it. "You ain't here to punish me," Leo realized. "You here to make sure I finish something." The figure tilted its head. Not confirmation, but not disagreement either. Leo laughed softly, shaking his head. Damn, even death got expectations. Below them, the Burg moved like nothing was wrong. Music floated up from somewhere distant. Life continued, careless and loud. Leo took a slow breath, the wrong kind of breath, the borrowed kind, and straightened his shoulders. "Aight," he said, "if I'm still here, then I'm gonna move right. No more reckless, no more noise." The silent figure stepped back half a pace. Approval? Maybe. Or just patience. Because Leo didn't know the biggest truth yet. Borrowed time always comes due. And when it does, the Burg doesn't ask questions. Chapter 14. Almost Seen It. It started small. A phone call that got returned too late. A meeting where Leo's friends couldn't keep their story straight. A glance at a stranger who seemed to know, even though they'd never met. Leo noticed it first. The way his friends fidgeted more than usual, like wires straining under too much voltage. "You sure you good?" one of them whispered as they walked through a busy strip of the Burg. Neon reflected off windows, casting everything in harsh pinks and greens. Leo kept his face calm. "Yeah, just tired, that's all." But he could see it, the cracks forming in their act. A man from the party nights ago paused, staring a beat too long. His friend froze, trying to cover. A lie that should have been smooth suddenly felt brittle. The silent figure stayed close, pressure brushing against Leo's side like a constant heartbeat. No words, no gestures, just presence, warning, reminder. And then it happened. A bartender approached, leaning casually toward Leo's friends. "Yo, wait, aren't you guys?" His voice trailed off, suspicion in his eyes. Leo's friend stammered, reaching for a joke that wasn't funny. "Nah, we just, you know. The bartender raised an eyebrow. "You sure? 'Cause I saw him last week." Leo stepped forward, the silent figure shifting slightly behind him. He didn't say a word, didn't need to. The bartender faltered, sensing the weight of something unseen. Unease rolled through the room. Finally, the bartender shook his head, muttering under his breath, "Weird," and walked away. Leo exhaled slowly, the tension inside him draining just enough to think. "You see that?" his friend whispered. "That was too close. Man, we can't keep doing this." Leo nodded. "I know, but it's bigger than us now. We don't just survive, we follow the rules, and the rules aren't ours." The silent figure hovered just behind him, calm, unreadable, but undeniably there. Leo felt it as a pulse against his spine, a constant reminder. One slip in the Burg, and whatever force had returned him would make them all pay. Leo's chest tightened. He didn't like it. None of them did. But it was the truth. The borrowed life he had wasn't just his. And the moment anyone else started breaking the act, the Burg would notice. And the Burg never forgets. Chapter 15. The Price in Person. The knock came at midnight, sharp, insistent. Not like someone ringing a doorbell for fun. It cut through the quiet like a warning. Leo and his friends froze. The silent figure leaned slightly, just enough for Leo to feel the weight of its presence. Calm, patient, watching. When Leo opened the door, she was there, the old woman. Not a shadow, not a voice over the phone. Full presence. Eyes dark as night, lined with power. "Leo," she said. No greeting, no small talk. Just that single name, heavy with meaning. He stepped back, swallowing. What's this about?" She didn't answer immediately. Instead, she walked in, scanning the room. The candles flickered as if they recognized her. Shadows bowed to her. The air felt thicker, tighter, like it was holding its breath. "You've been careless," she said finally. Voice smooth, precise, every word a strike. Testing limits, drawing attention, almost getting others hurt in the process. Leo's friends shifted nervously. She ignored them. "You're alive, yes, but alive doesn't mean free. Not for you. Not for anyone who touches what you've touched. Every step forward carries a debt." Leo's chest tightened. "I'm listening," he said, trying to keep calm. "Good," she said, "because I'm here to collect the first installment." The silent figure moved slightly behind Leo. No threat, just presence. Leo felt the weight, heavy and precise. "Don't make a sound," she said. "Don't fight. You'll learn faster if you don't resist." She raised a hand, and Leo's vision blurred slightly. Heat crawled across his skin, deep into his bones. Memories, not just his own, flashed in his mind. Choices he hadn't made, deals he'd walked away from, lives he hadn't saved. "You're on loan," she whispered, "and the Burg keeps score. Fail to respect it, and you won't just lose your life. You'll lose everything tethered to it." Leo exhaled slowly, chest tight, eyes scanning the room. The silent figure stood beside him, unwavering. Leo realized, finally, that survival wasn't just about avoiding bullets, rivals, or accidents. It was about obedience, and obedience had consequences. The old woman's eyes softened just slightly, not warm, just final. "You've been warned," she said. And then, as quietly as she came, she left. The door closed. Leo sank into a chair, chest heaving. His friends looked at him, panic etched into their faces. "Man, that ain't a joke," one whispered. Leo shook his head. "No, it's just getting started." The silent figure didn't move, didn't speak, just stood there, watching, reminding him. The Burg didn't forgive, the woman didn't forgive, and he had better start learning fast, because the first installment was only the beginning. Chapter 16, Crossing the Line. Leo tried to sleep, but sleep wouldn't come. Not after the visit, not after the warning. The city hummed outside his window, alive and aware. Neon lights flickered like restless eyes, and every distant laugh sounded like a countdown. He paced the apartment, chest tight, mind spinning. "You really think she's done?" one friend whispered, voice shaky. Leo shook his head. "No, not even close." The silent figure lingered near the doorway, unmoving, watching. Leo felt its presence like a heartbeat pressing against his ribs, calm, patient, and deadly serious. He knew the rules now, sort of. Follow the path, don't draw attention, don't break the line. But rules, they're made to be tested, and Leo was tired of being careful. He grabbed his jacket. "I'm going out." His friends froze. "Out? Are you crazy? After what she said?" Leo looked at them, eyes sharp. "You think I can just sit here, pretend everything's fine, pretend I'm normal? No, I gotta move. I gotta see how far I can push." The silent figure shifted slightly, just enough to remind him. Push too far, and the consequences weren't just his. Outside, the streets were quiet, too quiet. Music thumped faintly from a club down the block, but everything else, the hum of cars, the chatter of people, was muted, distant. It was like the city itself was holding its breath. Leo walked faster. The feeling of being watched pressed against him from every angle. Every shadow seemed alive. Every glance from a stranger felt loaded with meaning. Then he saw them. Not the rivals from before, not familiar faces, something else. People, or not people, emerging from the dark, moving with intent. His friends caught up, panicked. "Leo, you're not supposed to..." He cut them off. "I know what I'm doing." The silent figure moved to his side, closer than ever, pressing an invisible weight against him, almost protective, almost threatening. Leo inhaled, chest tight. "All right, let's see what happens." And in the shadows, the city waited. The Burg remembered. The debts were already stacking. And Leo, he was about to find out exactly what it meant to cross the line. Because the rules weren't suggestions, they were contracts. And contracts always come due. Chapter 17, When Rules Snap. Leo's steps echoed through the empty street. But this time, the echoes weren't just sound. They were warnings. Every shadow stretched longer, darker. Every corner seemed to twitch with expectation. He didn't notice at first, focused on testing limits, feeling alive in a way he hadn't since, ever. But then the first hit came. A car spun out from the alley, tires screaming, heading straight for him. "Move!" one of his friends shouted, panic in their voice. Leo dove aside just in time. The silent figure wasn't fast. It didn't need to be. It pressed against him invisibly, a force that shifted the car's momentum just enough for him to escape unharmed. He hit the ground, chest heaving, eyes wide. That was too close. The car skidded past, leaving only the echo of tires and a faint trace of fear. "See?" one friend gasped. "You can't keep testing this. She warned you." Leo struggled to his feet. I know, but I had to see. I had to feel it." The silent figure stayed close, a quiet weight at his side, watching, patient, not approving, not judging, just there, reminding him that the rules weren't suggestions. Then the old woman appeared. She didn't walk. She didn't announce herself. She simply materialized at the end of the street, candles flickering in the air around her, as if the night bent to her presence. "You broke the rules," she said, voice calm but unyielding. "You endangered yourself. You endangered others. And still, you tested me." Leo swallowed hard, chest tight. I thought I could. You thought wrong," she cut him off. "And now you will learn that the Burg and I collect differently when lines are crossed." The silent figure pressed closer, subtle but undeniable. Leo could feel it in his bones. This was no longer about survival. This was about obedience under pressure. The old woman raised a hand. The air seemed to shimmer. Shadows twisted unnaturally. The streetlights flickered violently. And from the dark alley, the first consequence stepped forward. A man Leo didn't recognize, body twisted, face blank, eyes wide with sudden terror. Not fully alive, not fully dead. Leo's friends stumbled back. What is that?" one whispered. The old woman's gaze locked on Leo. A reminder, every choice has a price, and you owe your first installment tonight. The silent figure didn't move, didn't intervene, but its presence pressed hard against him, heavier than before. Leo realized then that surviving wasn't enough. Obeying wasn't enough. He had to endure, because the Burg and whatever force had returned him didn't forgive mistakes. And the real lesson was just beginning. Chapter 18, the first collection. The night was thick, heavy, almost alive. The kind of darkness that doesn't just cover the streets, it watches them. Leo walked with his friends close, each step measured. They had been warned, not by police, not by rivals, not by chance. They had been warned by something else entirely, something that made the hairs on the back of Leo's neck stand straight. The silent figure followed, calm, deliberate, unreadable, but its presence pressed against Leo like gravity, forcing him to move in the right rhythm, guiding him without a word. "Yo," Rico whispered, voice barely audible over the distant thrum of a club. "You sure we should be out here after what she said?" Leo didn't answer. He already knew. There was no choice, no retreat. Survival wasn't optional. It was a contract. And tonight, the first installment was due. A flicker of movement caught his eye. Ahead, the alley darkened. Shadows pulled unnaturally, twisting against the streetlight. Leo slowed. Mal stepped up beside him. A man stepped forward, not fully alive, not fully human, something else. Eyes hollow, movements jerky. The kind of presence that made you question whether it belonged in this world or another. "You've been warned," the figure's gaze seemed to say. But the silent protector stayed tight against Leo, watching, patient. The hollow man lunged, not fast, not skilled, but precise. He carried the weight of the Burg behind him, a message disguised as attack. Leo dodged. The world seemed to tilt. His friends froze for a beat, caught between panic and disbelief. "Move," Leo shouted. The hollow man staggered back as the silent figure pressed closer, an invisible force that didn't strike but redirected. Every instinct told Leo, don't fight too hard, don't fight at all. The lesson was in endurance, not violence. Breath heavy, chest tight, Leo realized this was the cost of crossing the line. Not death, not exactly. Something worse, a reminder, a debt, a first installment. The hollow man recoiled, disappearing into the shadows as quickly as he had appeared. The night returned to its hum. The city kept moving, indifferent. Leo exhaled slowly. That was the first one. Mal's hand shook. First what? The cost, Leo said, voice low. First payment. She didn't just warn me, she collected, and we're only getting started. Rico swallowed hard. Man, I don't think we're going to make it out without losing something. The silent figure stepped closer to Leo, not threatening, not comforting, just present, a reminder. Obedience wasn't optional, survival wasn't free. And as they walked on, the city around them pulsed. Music, neon, shadows, life, death, all intertwined, all watching. The Burg wasn't done, the woman wasn't done, and Leo knew the first collection had only just begun. Chapter 19, Collateral Damage. Leo's steps were careful, deliberate. Every corner, every alley, every flicker of neon felt like it could be the moment the Burg or the woman struck again. His friends were jittery. Every sound made them flinch, every shadow a threat. Rico whispered under his breath, "Man, I can't do this no more." Leo didn't respond. He couldn't. He felt the weight of the silent figure pressing at his side, like a reminder he didn't fully understand yet. One wrong move, 1 second of hesitation, and none of them would walk away unscathed. They turned down a narrow street, poorly lit. A trash can rattled somewhere, and Mal jumped. "Relax," Leo said quietly. "You think I like this?" The warning came too late. A second figure emerged from the darkness, not the hollow man from before, but another. Faster, sharper, eyes glinting with a hunger that wasn't human. Rico froze. "Leo, it's coming!" The figure lunged at them, and in that instant, chaos exploded. Leo didn't dodge. He stepped forward, chest tight, guiding Rico and Mal behind him. The silent figure pressed even closer, its presence like a wall, and the attack faltered, enough for Leo to pull his friends aside. The creature hissed, recoiled, and vanished back into the shadows. The echo of its presence lingered, heavy and suffocating. Rico fell to his knees, breathing hard. "Yo, we almost..." Leo cut him off. "You saw it. You felt it. This isn't just about me being alive. Every step we take, every move we make, it matters." Mal nodded, pale. "I thought you were exaggerating. I thought she was bluffing. I was wrong." Leo looked up at the city lights, feeling the pulse of the Burg all around them. Music, sirens, laughter. It all felt like it was marking time against them. The silent figure didn't move, didn't speak, but Leo felt the weight of its patience and the unspoken warning. Rules broken, lives endangered, debts accumulating. And in that moment, Leo knew something no one else had realized yet. The Burg didn't just punish the guilty, it punished those close to them. Collateral damage was real. Collateral damage had names. And tonight, they had all narrowly escaped being on the list. Leo exhaled, chest tight. This isn't over. The silent figure leaned just slightly, almost imperceptibly, as if agreeing, because it wasn't over, not by a long shot. Chapter 20, The Mistake. It started small. Mal fumbled a phone call while Leo wasn't looking, laughing nervously as if nothing mattered. Rico, trying to cover for him, stuttered through a lie to a stranger who'd been asking questions. Leo noticed immediately. He always noticed. The silent figure shifted slightly behind him, not threatening, not comforting, just present, like a shadow reminding him that everything mattered. "You guys really want to test it?" Leo muttered, voice low. "Because one slip, one wrong move, and this isn't just about me anymore." They froze, realizing he wasn't joking, but it was too late. The Burg responded before Leo could act. A car door slammed across the street. Figures stepped from the shadows, 3 of them this time. Silent, coordinated, eyes sharp. They weren't human, not exactly. They carried the weight of the city itself, the kind of presence that made your skin crawl. Rico and Mal froze in place, their nervousness a beacon. Leo stepped forward, chest tight, heart hammering, but calm in a way that only someone forced to survive could be. "Move," he whispered. The silent figure acted in a flash, unseen and unstoppable. One of the attackers staggered back as if struck by invisible hands. Another slipped, hitting the asphalt with a grunt. The third froze, blinking in disbelief. Leo's friends scrambled, finally moving, guided by him. "You almost just got us killed," Leo snapped, voice low but furious. "This isn't a game." Mal's face was pale. I didn't know it would." Leo shook his head. "I don't care. You have to understand. Every single action counts. You break the rules, you pay. And now, we're all lucky the Burg decided to show mercy this time." The attackers retreated into the shadows, leaving only the echo of tires, footsteps, and the city's restless hum. Leo exhaled, chest heaving. He glanced at the silent figure. It didn't move. It didn't speak. But Leo felt the weight of its presence heavier than ever. Patient, dangerous, waiting for the next mistake. And Leo knew, without a doubt, that the first real test had been survived, but the consequences weren't over. The Burg had marked them. The debt had begun. And the game had only just gotten deadly. Chapter 21, Terms in Blood. The knock came at the same time as the clock struck midnight. Leo's chest tightened. He didn't need to look at his friends. They already knew. Silence filled the apartment like thick smoke, every heartbeat amplified. The door opened, and there she was, the old woman. Not a whisper, not a shadow, but full commanding presence. Candles lit themselves along the hallway as if anticipating her arrival. Shadows bent toward her, bowing to the weight of her power. "Leo," she said, voice low and deliberate, each syllable cutting through the air. "We've been patient. We've watched. We've allowed you to live because you have potential, because you're useful." Leo swallowed hard. I understand." She stepped closer, eyes dark, unwavering. "Do you? Or do you think surviving last night was luck?" Mal shifted, nervous. Rico gulped. Leo felt the silent figure behind him tense, not in anger, but warning. "The Burg isn't just a city," she continued. "It's a ledger. Every move you make is recorded. Every choice you take has consequences, and you have just started your first payment." Leo's jaw tightened. "What do you want from me?" She smiled, not kindly, not cruelly, but with the certainty of inevitability. Your obedience, your attention, your life, to follow the rules I set. Fail me, and I will collect from those closest to you, your friends, your family, everyone you think you're protecting. Rico's face went pale. Mal's hand shook. The silent figure leaned slightly, brushing the space between Leo and the woman like a barrier. Protective? Maybe. Warning? Definitely. You'll do exactly as I say, she said. No improvisation, no testing limits. One misstep, and the Burg will enforce what I cannot. And I assure you, I enforce thoroughly. Leo exhaled slowly. He knew she wasn't bluffing. Every encounter, every shadow, every hollow figure he'd seen in the past nights had proven the truth. I'll follow your rules, he said quietly. Good, she said, stepping back into the darkness. Candles flickered and died as she vanished. The next test will come soon. Be ready, Leo. The door clicked shut. Leo turned to his friends. You heard her, he said. We survive, but only if we follow the rules. No mistakes. Rico shook his head, voice trembling. Man, this is insane. I can't even think straight. Leo placed a hand on his shoulder. You think I can? But we don't get a choice anymore. Not tonight. Not ever. The Burg and whatever she is, we're all in this now. The silent figure stood close behind him, unwavering. Leo realized something chilling. Survival wasn't luck. Survival was obedience. And obedience came with a price he hadn't yet seen in full. Somewhere outside, the city hummed. Music, neon, shadows, all alive, all aware. And Leo understood, finally, the first real test of his borrowed life was just beginning. Chapter 22, The Assignment. Leo didn't sleep. None of them did. Morning crept in slow, pale, disrespectful, like it didn't know what had happened overnight. Sunlight hit the condo windows, bright and wrong, casting shadows that felt too sharp for daylight. Rico sat on the couch staring at nothing. Mal stood by the window, jaw tight, phone dead in his hand. Nobody spoke. There was nothing left to say that hadn't already been felt. Then the air shifted. Not dramatic, not loud, just heavier. Leo felt it first. The silent figure moved. For the first time since Leo could remember, it stepped forward. Not close this time, not hovering. It stood in front of him, waiting. Okay, Leo said quietly. I'm listening. The temperature dropped. A smell filled the room. Burnt herbs, salt, old earth. And then the voice came. Not from the walls, not from the figure, from inside Leo's chest. Tonight, South Side, Old Marina. There's a man who thinks he escaped his debt. You will remind him he didn't. Rico shot to his feet. Nah, bro. Whatever that is, you ain't going alone. Leo turned slowly. You didn't hear that for you. Mal shook his head. This is how it starts. First reminder, then blood. Leo didn't argue. He already knew the rules. This ain't about killing, he said. It's about balance. That's what she said. A ledger. The silent figure tilted its head, just slightly. Agreement. Night fell faster than it should have. The marina was half dead, boats rocking lazily like they didn't care what humans did on land. Sodium lights buzzed overhead. Water slapped against the docks in slow, mocking applause. The man stood near the end of the pier, counting money, smiling, comfortable, too comfortable. Leo stepped into the light. The man froze. Yo, what the hell you doing out here? Leo felt the pressure build in his chest again. Not anger, not fear, authority. "You skipped town," Leo said calmly. "Thought distance erased debt." The man laughed nervously. "Man, I paid my dues. Everybody knows that." The silent figure moved, not fast, not violent. Reality around the man bent, just enough. His smile vanished, his knees buckled. He gasped, like air had suddenly remembered it didn't belong to him. Leo leaned in. "You don't owe me," he said softly. "You owe the Burg." The pressure lifted. The man collapsed, sobbing, money spilling into the water. Leo stepped back, heart pounding, not from fear, but from realization. He hadn't touched him. He hadn't threatened him. He hadn't fought. And yet, the message landed, clear, permanent. As Leo turned away, the silent figure fell back into place beside him. That's when it hit him. This wasn't protection. This wasn't punishment. This was training. And Leo understood something terrifying as he walked back into the night. He wasn't just surviving anymore. He was becoming something the Burg could use. Chapter 23. The Burden of Control. The walk back from the marina was silent. Rico and Mal trailed behind Leo like shadows, each step hesitant, each breath heavy. The city hummed around them, indifferent to their little world of terror and debt. Leo didn't speak. He didn't need to. The night had already done that for him. You changed," Mal finally said, voice shaking. "You're different." Leo didn't answer. Not yet. Rico tried again. "Man, that was what you just did? That ain't human. Not like us. Not like anything normal." Leo stopped, turned slowly, looking at them. Eyes hard, but alive in a way that scared even him. "You think this is about me?" he said quietly. "No. This is bigger than all of us. Bigger than the money. Bigger than the streets. This is about balance, about survival, about debt. And guess what?" He let it hang. Rico swallowed. What's gonna happen next?" Leo exhaled slowly, a grim laugh escaping. "Next, we keep walking the line. We do exactly what she says. No mistakes. One slip, and it's not just me paying anymore." Mal's face went pale. "You mean us?" Leo nodded. "Yeah, that's what following the rules means." The silent figure hovered at his side, closer than usual. It didn't speak. It didn't move with urgency, but its presence was enough to remind them all. Compliance wasn't optional. Survival wasn't a guarantee. "You feel it, don't you?" Leo said, more to himself than them. "The power, the control, the way she teaches. This isn't just about fear. It's about shaping us, making us understand what the Burg really owns." Rico's hands shook. "I don't know if I can. I don't know if I want to be shaped like that." Leo glanced at him. "Neither did I, but we don't get a choice." The city stretched out around them, lights flickering, music pulsing faintly in the distance, and shadows shifting where none should have been. For the first time, the friends realized that Leo wasn't just alive because of luck anymore. He was alive because someone or something was molding him. And the Burg wasn't just watching anymore. It was training its weapon. Leo exhaled, the weight settling in his chest. He'd crossed the first line, survived the first payment, and now he carried the first true burden of control. And somewhere deep in the night, he knew the next installment wouldn't just be a reminder, it would be a test he might not pass. Chapter 24. Blood on the Ledger. The night was darker than usual, the city lights dimmed by a heavy fog that rolled in from the bay. Leo moved through the streets with his friends close behind, every sense sharp, every muscle tight. The silent figure stayed a few steps behind, constant, patient, watching. "Man, you think she's serious?" Rico whispered, voice low, tense. "After last night?" Leo didn't answer. He already knew. The voodoo woman didn't joke. Her warnings weren't suggestions, they were demands. And her patience? Exhausted. Ahead, a man waited under a flickering streetlight. Someone Leo didn't know personally, but whose debt was as real as the paper it was written on, or maybe heavier. The man glanced around nervously, unaware of the forces aligning against him. "Leo, this is messed up," Mal said. "I don't want to do this. Leo's eyes cut to him. "No arguments. One mistake, one hesitation, and you're paying too." Mal swallowed hard. He wanted to argue, but words died in his throat. They all did. The man turned, startled, as Leo approached, but before he could speak, a pressure hit him. Invisible, unstoppable. He fell to his knees, eyes wide, as if reality itself had betrayed him. Money spilled from his hands into the water. He gasped for air, trembling. Rico and Mal froze. What did you do?" Leo stepped closer, chest tight, voice calm but hard. "Nothing." Rico's jaw dropped. "Nothing? He's on the ground, bro. You think I touched him?" Leo said sharply. "Don't be stupid. The Burg did this. The woman. That's why we follow the rules. Not me. Not us. Them. Not bending. Not breaking." Mal's face was pale. "So, we just watch?" Leo's lips pressed together. "We survive. We obey. That's all we get. And we remember every step, every choice, every word. Because one day, it'll be our turn to fall if we're careless." The man on the ground sobbed silently, the ledger in the night clear to all who could read it. Debts exist, debts are collected, and the Burg doesn't negotiate. Leo turned away, the silent figure falling back in line beside him. He glanced at his friends. Their faces reflected fear, disbelief, and awe. He exhaled slowly. This is just the start. Remember it." Somewhere above, the city hummed, indifferent. Music pulsed faintly in the distance, neon flickering over the water. Life carried on. But Leo knew the truth. Tonight, the balance had shifted, and the first real lesson of obedience had been burned into the ledger of the Burg. The debt was paid, but the price had just begun. Chapter 25. Cracks in the Circle. The condo felt smaller now, like the walls had leaned in while they were gone. Rico paced again, same nervous loop, same worn spot on the floor. Mal sat at the table, head in his hands, breathing like he was trying not to drown. Leo stood by the window, watching the city glow like nothing was wrong. "You didn't warn us," Rico snapped finally. "You didn't say it would be like that." Leo didn't turn around. "I warned you enough." "Nah," Rico said, voice breaking. "You warned us about danger. You didn't warn us about becoming part of it." That one landed. Leo felt it hit deep, right behind the ribs. The silent figure shifted, closer than it had ever been. Not defensive, not aggressive, observing. Mal looked up slowly. "You ever think maybe we're not supposed to survive this?" Leo turned now. His eyes were calm, but something old and hard lived behind them. "I died already," he said. "This is overtime." Silence. Rico stopped pacing. "Then why drag us into it?" Leo stepped forward, lowering his voice. "Because if I didn't, you'd already be dead. That's the rule you don't want to hear." The room went cold. Mal swallowed. "You're changing, bro." Leo nodded. "I know." That scared them more than denial ever could. The lights flickered. Candles, unlit moments ago, caught fire on their own. She was there, not walking in, not knocking, just there. "You're learning," the woman said, eyes on Leo alone. "But learning comes with loss." Rico backed up. Nah, this wasn't the deal." She smiled gently. "You misunderstand. The deal was survival. Comfort was never included." Her gaze shifted to Mal. "One of you doubts. Doubt spreads. Doubt poisons the ledger." Leo's chest tightened. "Say what you're saying." The silent figure moved between them, not blocking, not threatening, judging. "Next time," the woman said softly, "you won't all walk away unchanged." Then she was gone. No smoke, no sound, just absence. Rico exhaled shakily. She just threatened us. Leo stared at the space she left behind. "No," he said, "she warned us." Mal stood up slowly. "Leo, if this keeps going..." Leo cut him off. "It's already going." The silent figure drifted back to Leo's side, closer than ever. And in that moment, Leo understood the truth he'd been avoiding. The Burg wasn't just testing obedience anymore. It was testing who would break first. Chapter 26, The Almost Betrayal. Rico didn't mean to do it. That's the part nobody ever believes, but it's the truth. He didn't wake up that morning planning to save himself. He didn't look at Leo and think, "I'm going to sell you out." Fear just crept in quietly, the way it always does. Soft, reasonable, convincing. Mal noticed first. Rico had been quieter than usual, too quiet. His phone never left his hand. Every vibration made his shoulders jump. He laughed at the wrong moments, nodded when nobody was talking. Mal pulled him aside in the kitchen. "What you doing, bro?" Rico snapped back too fast. "Nothing." That was answer enough. Across the room, Leo watched them in the reflection of the microwave door. He didn't hear the words, but he felt the shift. The silent figure felt it too. It leaned in, just a fraction, like a needle finding a vein. Later that night, Rico stepped out onto the balcony alone. He told himself he just needed air. The city stretched below him, loud and alive. People laughing on the street like death wasn't circling the block. His phone buzzed again. Unknown number. He answered. "Rico," a voice said calmly. Male, controlled, familiar in the worst way. "You don't know me, but I know you, and I know what you've been walking next to." Rico's throat went dry. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Sure you do," the voice said. "Dead men who don't stay dead. Old women who don't age. Shadows that move when they shouldn't." Rico closed his eyes. "We don't want Leo," the voice continued. "Not yet. We want information, patterns, where he goes, when she shows up." Rico gripped the railing. "And if I don't?" A pause. Then the Burg collects in a way you won't survive." Inside, Leo's chest tightened. He hadn't heard the call, but the silent figure stepped closer. Warning, confirmation. Leo walked onto the balcony. Rico turned, eyes wide, phone still in his hand. For a long second, nobody spoke. The city roared below them. "You gonna tell me?" Leo said quietly. "Or you gonna lie?" Rico's mouth opened, closed. His knees shook. "They called me," he whispered. "I didn't say nothing. I swear. I panicked." Leo stared at him. The silent figure moved, not forward, not back, sideways, placing itself between Leo and Rico. Protection, but not for who Rico expected. "She sees intent," Leo said softly, "not actions. You know that, right?" Rico started crying, not loud, just breaking down. "I don't want to die, bro." Leo stepped closer. "Neither did I." The air shifted. Candles flared inside without being lit. The woman's voice came from everywhere and nowhere at once. "Fear is understandable," she said, "but betrayal is expensive." Rico collapsed to his knees. Leo didn't touch him, didn't threaten him. He just said, "This was your warning." The pressure lifted. The call never came again. But something inside the circle was broken now. Trust didn't shatter loudly. It cracked, hairline fractures spreading under the surface. And Leo understood something brutal as he looked at his oldest friend. The Burg wasn't just testing who would obey. It was testing who was worth keeping alive. Chapter 27. The One She Took. Nobody slept. Rico stayed on the couch all night, knees pulled to his chest, eyes red and empty. Mal sat at the table, staring at the same cold cup of coffee, like it might explain something if he waited long enough. Leo stood in the doorway between rooms, not guarding, measuring. The silent figure hadn't moved since the balcony. That scared Leo more than anything. Morning came wrong again, too bright, too normal. Outside, the Burg laughed, honked, played music, sold breakfast like nobody's soul had almost been auctioned off the night before. Mal finally broke. So what now? Leo didn't answer right away. He felt it before he heard it. The ledger shifting, a page turning. "She's coming," Leo said quietly. Right on cue, the air thickened. No candles this time, no ceremony. She appeared sitting at the table, hands folded, like she'd been there all along. "You were warned," she said calmly. Rico shot to his feet. "I didn't betray him. I didn't give them anything." She looked at him gently. "Intent leaves a stain." Rico's voice cracked. "Please." Leo stepped forward. "Take it out on me." That finally made her look at him fully. "You're learning," she said, "but you're not finished." The silent figure moved, just one step. She raised a finger. It stopped. Mal's breath hitched. "What does that mean? Take one?" The woman stood. "One of you has become unstable," she said. "Fear attracts attention. Attention attracts disruption. Disruption threatens balance." Rico shook his head violently. "No, no, no, no." She turned to Leo. "Choose." The word dropped like a body. Leo felt something tear open in his chest. "That's not... Balance requires sacrifice," she said. "If I choose, the lesson will be harsher." Silence screamed. Leo looked at Mal, then Rico, both terrified, both human, both his. The silent figure leaned in close, closer than ever before, and for the first time, Leo heard it. Not words, understanding. Leo closed his eyes. When he opened them, his voice was steady. "Rico." Rico froze. "No," Mal whispered. "Leo." Rico dropped to his knees. "Bro, please, please, I won't mess up again." Leo knelt in front of him, put his forehead to Rico's. "I know," he said. "That's why." The woman stepped forward. She didn't touch Rico. She didn't need to. The pressure came sudden and absolute, like gravity deciding it was done pretending. Rico gasped once, then he was gone. Not dead, not alive, just removed. The space he'd occupied felt wrong, like a missing tooth the tongue couldn't stop searching for. Mal screamed. Leo didn't move. The woman turned away. Balance restored. She vanished. The silent figure stayed. Mal sobbed, collapsing against the wall. "You let her take him." Leo finally exhaled. "No," he said. "I kept you." The words tasted like blood. Outside, the Burg kept breathing, and Leo understood the final truth of his borrowed life. Power doesn't come from surviving death. It comes from deciding who doesn't. Chapter 28. What remains? Mal didn't speak for 2 days. Not a word, not a sound. Just breathing. Fast when he slept, shallow when he didn't. He sat where Rico used to sit, like the apartment itself was daring him to move. Leo let him be. Grief had rules too. You couldn't rush it. You couldn't soften it. You just survived it long enough for it to harden into something usable. The silent figure stayed close, too close. Leo noticed he didn't flinch anymore. That scared him. On the third night, Mal finally stood, walked to the window, looked out over the city like he was deciding whether to jump or rule it. "You ever gonna tell me where he went?" Mal asked quietly. Leo joined him. "If I knew, I'd tell you." "That's a lie," Mal said, not angry, just tired. Leo nodded. "I know where he isn't." They stood there together, watching the Burg glow. Somewhere a party cracked off, bass punching through the air like a heartbeat that refused to stop. Mal laughed once, short, broken. "Crazy thing, part of me hates you." Leo didn't argue. "And part of me," Mal continued, "knows I'm still alive because of you." That one cut deeper. The air shifted again, but this time it wasn't her. The silent figure stepped forward, fully. For the first time, it moved into the light. Mal sucked in a breath. "What the hell is that?" Leo stared, really stared. The figure wasn't empty anymore. Its shape sharpened. Familiar lines surfaced. A posture Leo recognized in his bones. It was him. Not exactly. Older, scarred. Eyes carrying weight instead of hunger. A future that had already happened somewhere. The figure looked at Leo and spoke. "You don't get to save everyone," it said calmly. "You only get to decide who matters." Mal staggered back. Nah, this ain't." Leo didn't blink. "You're me." The figure nodded. "What you become when you stop pretending survival is enough." The room felt too small for that truth. "You're here to protect me?" Leo asked. The figure shook its head. "I'm here to make sure you don't hesitate again." Silence. Mal whispered, "We're in trouble." Leo smiled faintly. "We've been in trouble." Outside, the Burg pulsed, alive, aware, patient, and Leo finally understood his role wasn't to escape the city, it was to conduct it. Somewhere deep in the ledger, a new page turned, and the Burg leaned in, ready for what came next. Chapter 29, Testing the Rules. Mal couldn't sleep, not because of guilt, not exactly, but because everything he thought he knew about loyalty, fear, and survival had cracked. And cracks have a way of turning into chasms if you lean too close. Leo had told him to obey, to survive, to follow the rules. But obedience is heavy, and weight has a way of crushing even the strongest. Late at night, Mal slipped out. Just a walk, he told himself, just to think. The Burg was awake. It knew. As Mal moved down the street, shadows seemed to curl around him, whispering. Figures stepped from dark alleys, not hollow like before, not alive, not dead, just watching, waiting, testing. He froze. "Mal," a voice hissed from nowhere and everywhere at once. "Do you understand what obedience costs?" The air thickened. Mal shook his head. I don't." "You will," the voodoo woman said. She appeared suddenly, not walking, just there. "Your friend survived because he chose wisely. You are testing the rules." Mal swallowed hard. I wasn't trying to." Her eyes pierced him. Intent matters less than result. Step out of line, and the ledger will demand a correction. Mal's legs felt like stone. He realized then that he hadn't just stepped outside, he had stepped into judgment. Behind him, movement caught his attention. The silent figure, or what Leo had become, emerged from the shadows. Taller now, broader, presence sharpened to a razor. Mal turned, fear and awe clashing in his chest. "It's not about punishment," the figure said quietly. "It's about consequence." Mal exhaled shakily. "And if I fail?" The figure didn't answer immediately, just tilted its head, letting Mal imagine every horror he could. Finally, "Then you joined those who didn't understand the cost of hesitation." Mal's knees buckled. He realized in that moment, obedience wasn't fear, it was survival, and survival wasn't free. Somewhere far off, the city hummed, oblivious. Music pulsed from a club like a heartbeat, indifferent to the lives bending around it. Mal understood now. This wasn't just about him or Leo. It was about everyone under the Burg's ledger. And tonight, the cost of testing the rules had been made brutally clear. Chapter 30. The Conductor of the Burg. The city didn't wait. It pulsed. It throbbed. Neon lights flickered in rhythm with the distant bass of nightclubs. Sirens wailed like distant cries. And somewhere, a dog barked, sharp, accusing. Leo stood in the middle of it all, the silent figure close at his side, Mal behind him, trembling but still alive. Tonight, the ledger called for a performance, not of violence, not of fear, but of authority. "The city listens to rhythm," Leo said quietly. "Every corner, every alley, every heartbeat. The Burg isn't just streets and buildings, it's life, and we conduct it." Mal didn't understand, but he nodded anyway. Obedience. That's all survival allowed. The first test came quickly. A car swerved recklessly around the corner. The driver laughed, careless. Leo didn't move his hands, didn't even step forward. The silent figure moved instead, not attacking, not touching, just redirecting. The car swerved again, tires screeching, and slammed safely into a lamppost without killing anyone. The driver stumbled out, shaken, whispering prayers to ghosts he couldn't see. Mal's jaw dropped. "How?" Leo shook his head. "Not me, the ledger, the Burg. This is its city. We're just interpreters." Every act that night reinforced the pattern. Control without touch, authority without threat. People feared, obeyed, survived, all without realizing why. By midnight, Leo had become more than a man. He was a conduit, a living interface between the city's pulse and the Burg's invisible will. Mal watched, awestruck. "Bro, you're something else." Leo didn't answer. He felt it, the weight, the responsibility, the debt he carried not just for himself, but for everyone he still had the power to protect. Outside, the Burg thrummed. It had noticed the shift. The ledger was filling faster now, every heartbeat accounted for, every misstep recorded. And in the shadows, the voodoo woman smiled. She didn't need to appear. The city itself whispered her approval. Leo exhaled, chest tight. He had survived. He had obeyed. He had become something the Burg could use. And deep down, he knew the next test would demand everything else he had left to give. Chapter 31. The Breaking Point. Mal's hand shook. He had tried to obey, tried to follow the rules, tried to stay alive. But rules are heavy when fear lives in your chest like a second heartbeat. Leo didn't look at him. He knew. He always knew. The silent figure behind him shifted slightly, like a warning, like a pulse of inevitability. The voodoo woman appeared, not in the apartment this time, but in the reflection of the window. a dark silhouette behind the glass. Her eyes were everywhere at once. "You are unstable," she said. Her voice carried over the city, over the streets, over the distant sounds of life that didn't matter. "You cannot be allowed to break. Not now. Not ever." Mal's knees buckled. I can't do this. I'm not ready." Leo finally turned to him, eyes burning. Ready or not doesn't matter. Survival doesn't ask. Obedience doesn't ask. The Burg doesn't ask. Mal shook his head violently. Then I quit." The words were like a knife. The air thickened. Outside, the city seemed to pause. Neon lights flickered violently. Music stopped mid-beat. Sirens held their wail. Even the wind stilled. The silent figure stepped forward. No threat, no motion, just presence. Mal felt it in his chest, like the city itself pressing down on him. "You do not get to quit," the figure said quietly. "Not here, not ever. And you know what happens when someone tries." Mal's eyes went wide. "No, no, no, no." The voodoo woman's voice came again, low, commanding. "A ledger must be balanced. Fear is a tool. Weakness is a debt. Your hesitation is debt you cannot pay yourself." Mal collapsed to the floor, not crying, not screaming, just broken. Leo knelt beside him, voice low but steady. "Listen to me, Mal. You survive because you obey. That's all. That's the only choice you get. One more misstep, and the Burg decides who doesn't make it." Mal whimpered. I can't." "Shh," Leo said, pressing his hand to Mal's shoulder. "You can. You will. Because if you don't, they'll take you. And then there's no one left to protect anyone. Not me, not you, not Rico, not anyone." Outside, the city exhaled. The ledger recorded. The Burg pulsed. And Leo understood, fully, completely, what it meant to lead under its rules. No one survives by half measures. Chapter 32, The Public Test. The Burg waited. And tonight, it wanted a show. Leo, Mal, and the silent figure walked into the heart of the city. Neon cracked the darkness, music pounding like a heartbeat that refused to stop. Crowds moved through streets like ants, oblivious to the invisible ledger, recording every misstep, every hesitation, every intention. "This is it," Leo said quietly. "The Burg isn't satisfied with shadows anymore. It wants proof." Mal shook, eyes wide. "Proof of what?" "Control," Leo said. "Obedience, authority, survival under pressure, and loyalty." Ahead, a group of men blocked a side street. Drunks, punks, and small-time hustlers. Nothing unusual, but the Burg had singled them out. "You see them?" Leo asked. Mal nodded weakly. "They think this is their street," Leo continued. "They think they matter. They don't. Not tonight. Tonight, they're part of the test." The silent figure shifted beside him, like a shadow coming to life. Leo stepped forward, not a threat, not a gesture, just forward. The crowd noticed, confused, uneasy. The air pulsed. Music slowed in rhythm with the tension. Leo raised a hand. The street stopped, not by fear, not by weapons, by force unseen, by authority carried in every wordless step he took. One man laughed nervously, then another. The laughter faltered. The street froze as if reality itself had decided it wouldn't move until Leo allowed it. "Obey," Leo said quietly. The words weren't loud. They didn't need to be. The crowd scattered. Some ran, Some froze. The ones who hesitated, the Burg took care of them in ways Leo didn't have to touch. Mal's jaw dropped. How are you doing that? Leo glanced at the silent figure. It's not me. The figure tilted its head, presence sharper than steel. Mal swallowed hard. Then, what is it? Leo exhaled slowly. The Burg, that's all. I'm its instrument, its channel. The crowd had dispersed completely. The street was empty. Music, sirens, and neon resumed. Life went on as if nothing had happened. Mal's knees buckled. I can't. You're not human. Leo shook his head. Neither is the city anymore, and neither are we. If we want to survive, we obey. We lead, and sometimes we decide who gets left behind. The silent figure stepped forward, brushing close to Leo's side. Not protective, not threatening, but present, watching, judging. Leo understood now. Public test complete, authority proven, but the ledger still demanded more. And somewhere in the shadows, the voodoo woman's smile whispered across the city. The next installment will break everything you think you know. Chapter 33, The Impossible Choice. The city never sleeps, not really, not when the Burg is awake. Leo, Mal, and the silent figure returned to the apartment, but the calm inside was deceptive. Neon from outside cut across the floor like blades, painting the walls in jagged lines of light and shadow. The voodoo woman appeared without warning, not walking, not knocking. She was. You have proven authority, she said, voice low, deliberate. But now you must prove loyalty. Leo's jaw tightened. What do you mean? She stepped closer, her gaze locked on Mal. One of your companions will pay the price. Their survival is yours to decide. Mal froze, his eyes wide. No, you can't. I can, she said simply, and I will if you hesitate. You know the rules. Leo swallowed hard. He looked at Mal, the friend who had been there since the beginning. Heart pounding, he understood. The ledger didn't just record debts, it demanded balance. And sometimes, balance required blood. Mal's breath hitched. Leo, you can't. Leo knelt slowly, bringing his gaze to Mal's. I won't let her take him without reason, he said softly. But the price, the ledger won't wait for us to figure out our feelings. We obey, we survive. The silent figure stepped closer, eyes sharp. For the first time, Leo felt it wasn't just a shadow anymore. It was a presence enforcing inevitability. You must choose, the woman said. Obedience is survival. Hesitation is death. Time froze. Seconds stretched like hours. Outside, the city hummed, oblivious to the decision weighing on one man's shoulders. Leo's hands clenched. He exhaled. I choose. Mal's eyes widened, searching, terrified. I choose what keeps us alive, Leo whispered. The room went cold. The air thickened. Candles flared, then died. The voodoo woman's silhouette twisted in the flickering darkness. Mal stepped back, heart pounding. Leo, what does that mean? Leo didn't answer immediately. He knew what it meant. Survival had a cost. Authority demanded a sacrifice. And sometimes, the only way to protect someone was to let the ledger claim what it wanted. The silent figure moved between them, finally revealing its form fully, no longer a shadow. The features were sharp, familiar, frighteningly human, yet impossibly other. You see now, it said softly, why obedience is the only currency in this city, why hesitation doesn't exist, why balance is absolute. Mal's knees buckled. Then what happens? Leo exhaled, voice steady, eyes hard. We survive, and we live to pay the next debt. The woman vanished. The city breathed again. The neon hummed. Music returned. Life continued. But the impossible choice had already carved itself into the ledger and into Leo's soul. Chapter 34. The Truth Behind the Shadow. The apartment was quiet. Too quiet. Mal sat at the table, still pale, still trembling. Leo stood near the window, eyes on the city, chest tight. The neon outside flickered in jagged patterns, like it was impatient, like it had been waiting for this moment. The silent figure stepped forward, fully visible now. Its features were sharp, almost painfully familiar. Eyes dark, intelligent, carrying a weight that pressed on Leo's chest. What are you? Leo asked finally. The figure's lips curved faintly. I am what you will become if you obey completely. I am the echo of the Burg's ledger. I am the consequence of your survival, shaped into a form you can understand. I am both warning and guide. Mal swallowed hard. Wait, so you're Leo? The figure's eyes softened. Not exactly. Not yet. I am the version of you that the Burg has carved from obedience, sacrifice, and power. The part of you that will enforce the rules without hesitation. The part that will carry the weight of the ledger when your friends cannot. Leo's chest tightened. So, everything, all of this, it's preparing me? Yes, the figure said quietly. The tests, the choices, the fear, it's all shaping you. One day, you will not just survive the Burg. You will conduct it. You will enforce its rules. You will decide who lives and who pays. And when that day comes, hesitation is not an option. Mal shook his head violently. This is insane. You're telling me he's becoming a weapon? Leo didn't answer. He understood fully. Fear, obedience, sacrifice. They weren't just lessons. They were the forge, and he was molten metal. The figure stepped closer to Leo, voice calm, deliberate. Every choice you make echoes across the city. Every hesitation will be punished. Every loyalty tested. And every bond you hold dear may be ripped away if the ledger demands it. Mal looked at Leo, eyes wide. I can't do this. We, none of us. Leo's hand brushed his shoulder. You can. You will. Because if we don't, no one survives. Not me, not you, not Rico, not anyone we care about. The silent figure nodded. Remember this. I am the reminder. I am the measure. I am the proof that balance exists only through obedience. Fail, and you will know the cost. Outside, the city pulsed. Music, lights, life, none of it mattered. The ledger watched. The Burg waited. And Leo understood, for the first time fully, what he had truly become. Not just a survivor, not just a friend, not just a man, a conductor of the Burg. Chapter 35. Chaos in the Burg. The streets weren't quiet that night. They had never been quieter. Cars skidded, sirens screamed, music blasted from every corner. People ran in every direction, screaming, shouting, confused. The city had become a living organism of fear and instinct, reacting before anyone could even understand why. Leo stood on the corner, Mal beside him, the silent figure hovering at his side like a shadow sharpened into steel. Why is this happening? Mal shouted over the chaos. This isn't natural. Leo didn't answer immediately. He didn't need to. The Burg spoke through everything. The honking cars, the shattered glass, the streetlights flickering in perfect, terrifying rhythm. The ledger, Leo said finally. It's reacting. The Burg is awake, and it's testing me, testing us, not with fear, but with reality itself. A car barreled down the street toward a group of people. Leo raised his hand, not in anger, not in threat, just lifted it. The car swerved, tires squealed. The driver stumbled, eyes wide, hands gripping the wheel like it had betrayed him. Mal stared. It's like you're controlling it. Leo glanced at him. Not me, the Burg. I'm the channel, the instrument. The city listens to me because I obey its rules, because I survive its tests. Buildings trembled, music skipped, people shouted in confusion. Chaos wasn't random, it had a rhythm, and that rhythm was Leo. Mal's knees buckled. We can't. This is insane. The silent figure stepped forward, voice calm. Insane is irrelevant. Balance is absolute. The ledger decides, the city obeys, and you enforce. Leo exhaled slowly, eyes narrowing. The ledger had thrown everything at him at once. Fear, doubt, chaos, and he had to respond. Mal, he said quietly, you survive because you obey. You follow the rhythm. You don't question it. You just act. Mal swallowed hard. And if I fail? Leo's voice hardened. Then the city decides without mercy. And you'll be part of the ledger's lesson. The neon lights flickered one last time. Music, traffic, chaos, all snapped into silence. People froze mid-step, mid-scream, mid-laugh. The Burg had noticed him fully now, and Leo understood. This was no longer a test. This was the first day of his rule. The silent figure stepped beside him, fully revealed in the flickering light. Eyes dark, voice calm, presence overwhelming. Control isn't optional, it said. Obedience isn't optional, and survival never is. Leo exhaled. He had survived. He had obeyed. He had become something more than a man. And now, the city itself waited for his command. Chapter 36. The Cost of Balance. The silence didn't last. It never does. The city exhaled all at once. Sirens crawling back to life. Music creeping in low. Voices returning like ghosts, unsure if they were allowed to speak. People didn't remember freezing. They never would. The Burg protected itself that way. Leo felt it first. A pressure behind his eyes. A pull in his chest. Like something unseen was tapping the ledger, flipping pages, looking for a name. The air shifted, thick, sweet, wrong. She stepped out of the alley barefoot, white dress brushing the pavement like it didn't care about dirt. The voodoo woman's eyes locked onto Leo, sharp and knowing. You held the rhythm, she said calmly. That is rare. Mal backed up instinctively. Nah, whatever you're about to say, we don't want it. She smiled at him, not kindly, not cruelly, just final. Balance requires blood, she said, and the Burg is owed. Leo clenched his jaw. Take me. The silent figure shifted, just slightly. No, it said. The woman tilted her head. You're learning fast. Leo turned to the shadow. What do you mean, no? You are not the payment, the figure replied. You are the instrument. Instruments are not sacrificed. Attachments are. Mal's breathing went ragged. Leo, what's it talking about? The ledger burned in Leo's chest now. He could feel names surfacing, debts, old sins, old favors. The Burg didn't want a body, it wanted a message. The woman stepped closer. Choose, she said, not who dies, but who carries the weight. Leo's hands shook. There's got to be another way. There is always another way, she replied softly, but it costs more. The silent figure leaned in, voice barely above a whisper. If you refuse, the city will take randomly. Innocents, children, friends. Balance will be restored without your mercy. Leo closed his eyes. Memories flooded in. Laughing on boats, late nights, stupid jokes, loyalty that survived money and bullets. He opened his eyes, hardened now. Mal, he said quietly. Mal shook his head, tears already forming. Nah, bro, don't do this. Don't you dare. You stay alive, Leo said. You carry it. You remember this moment every day. You remember who kept the Burg from swallowing you whole. The woman nodded once. It is done. She touched Mal's forehead. Mal screamed, not in pain, but in understanding. The scream echoed through the streets, then vanished, swallowed by the city like it never existed. Mal collapsed to his knees, gasping, eyes wide, changed. The pressure lifted, the ledger closed. The Burg was satisfied. Leo stared at his friend, heart cracking but face unreadable. The silent figure placed a hand on Leo's shoulder. Solid now, real. You chose mercy, it said. The city will remember that, but mercy leaves scars. Leo looked out at the neon-lit streets. Life went on. Music played. People laughed. And none of them knew how close they'd come to being erased. Leo wasn't just surviving anymore. He was protecting the Burg, even from itself. Chapter 37, Mal's Reckoning. Mal didn't speak for days. Not out of fear, he couldn't. His body remembered what Leo had chosen for him, what the ledger had demanded, what the voodoo woman had marked him with. The air followed him. Every shadow whispered in his ear. Every street corner seemed to twist, reminding him of the price of hesitation. He walked through the Burg like a ghost. People passed him, oblivious, music blaring, neon flickering, lives spilling into each other. None of them knew, none of them could know. Leo watched him, close, quiet, always a measure away. You're different, Leo said finally. I can see it. You'll never be the same. Mal nodded. I'm alive, but I'm not me anymore. I feel it, in my chest, in my hands, like I carry something I can't drop. You do, Leo said, and that's why you survived. You carry it instead of the city losing control. The silent figure hovered beside them, no words needed. Presence alone made the lesson stick. Mal's eyes glimmered with fear, respect, and the tiniest spark of determination. Then, I'll learn, I'll survive, I'll obey. Leo didn't answer. He only watched, because obedience is a teacher you can't argue with. Outside, the city breathed, unaware that one of its protectors had just been rewritten. Chapter 38, Public Consequences. It didn't take long. Word of the chaos spread, even if no one understood the why. Murmurs of, "Did you see that street?" Or, "How did traffic stop like that?" rippled through the Burg. The city's pulse had shifted. Leo had shown the ledger's influence could touch anyone, anywhere. A nightclub exploded in panic when a fight broke out. No one knew why the attackers froze mid-swing. Traffic lights aligned unnaturally. Street performers moved in perfect rhythm with sounds only they could hear. The city was a machine, and Leo's obedience conducted it. Mal staggered beside him. They're noticing, aren't they? They always do, Leo said. The Burg is alive. It knows who moves with it and who moves against it. Crowds began to whisper. Fear and awe mixed together. They didn't see Leo. They didn't know his face, but they felt him. Power doesn't need to be visible to be obeyed. The ledger pulsed inside Leo now. It was no longer just lessons. It was expectation, control, responsibility, and somewhere deep, a warning. Mistakes now could unravel everything. Leo exhaled, voice low. Every step we take, everyone we touch, it counts. Every hesitation, every misstep, the city remembers. Mal swallowed. Then we keep walking? Leo nodded. We keep walking, and we keep the ledger balanced. Chapter 38. Public Consequences. It didn't take long. Word of the chaos spread, even if no one understood the why. Murmurs of, "Did you see that street?" Or, "How did traffic stop like that?" rippled through the Burg. The city's pulse had shifted. Leo had shown the ledger's influence could touch anyone, anywhere. A nightclub exploded in panic when a fight broke out. No one knew why the attackers froze mid-swing. Traffic lights aligned unnaturally. Street performers moved in perfect rhythm with sounds only they could hear. The city was a machine, and Leo's obedience conducted it. Mal staggered beside him. "They're noticing, aren't they?" "They always do," Leo said. "The Burg is alive. It knows who moves with it and who moves against it." Crowds began to whisper. Fear and awe mixed together. They didn't see Leo. They didn't know his face, but they felt him. Power doesn't need to be visible to be obeyed. The ledger pulsed inside Leo now. It was no longer just lessons. It was expectation, control, responsibility, and somewhere deep, a warning. Mistakes now could unravel everything. Leo exhaled, voice low. "Every step we take, everyone we touch, it counts. Every hesitation, every misstep, the city remembers." Mal swallowed. "Then we keep walking?" Leo nodded. "We keep walking, and we keep the ledger balanced." Chapter 40. Shaping the Burg. Morning came wrong. Not wrong like dark and stormy, but wrong like the city had shifted under his feet overnight. The streets pulsed with new rhythm, new rules, new order. It wasn't chaos anymore. It was pattern, and Leo could feel it in every breath, every footstep, every heartbeat. Mal walked beside him, cautious, hesitant, still haunted by what he'd carried. This is different," he muttered. "It feels alive." "Because it is," Leo said, "and now we guide it." The silent figure hovered close. Guidance is dangerous. Power without restraint can destroy you faster than the ledger ever will. Leo nodded. "I know, but restraint is useless if the city obeys blindly. We must shape it, not just react." He stepped onto the main boulevard. The city responded immediately. Traffic adjusted as if anticipating his moves. Music from open clubs synced subtly, the rhythm of bass and lights bending around him. People glanced up, noticing nothing consciously, but obeying instinctively. Mal's jaw dropped. "You're controlling them." Leo shook his head. "Not controlling, conducting. They aren't puppets, they're participants. The Burg listens, and we give it direction. That's all." Ahead, a street fight began, small-time hustlers, drunk on ego. Leo raised his hand slightly. The fight slowed. Footsteps faltered. Threats hung in the air like broken promises. The silent figure observed. "Remember, authority without consequence is meaningless. You shape the Burg, but the ledger will always measure your choices." Leo exhaled. "Then we shape it wisely." He moved through the city like water through a channel, every gesture subtle, every step precise. Crowds parted instinctively. Car horns adjusted their rhythm. Lights flickered in harmony. The Burg listened. Mal followed, terrified and awed. And if someone disobeys? Leo's gaze hardened. Then the Burg reminds them, not me, not us, but it remembers everything, and it punishes with precision. For the first time, Leo smiled. Not relief, not joy, not fear, but certainty. He wasn't just surviving anymore, he was leading. And the ledger, the woman, the silent figure, they had all been preparing him for this moment. The city exhaled, It had a conductor now, and Leo finally understood what it meant to command the heartbeat of the Burg. Chapter 41. The Public Challenge. The Burg had taken notice, not of whispers, not of fear, but of control, and it wasn't subtle. Word of the city bending subtly under Leo's presence spread through the underground networks. Rivals, ambitious hustlers, and power-hungry players were testing the invisible boundaries he'd set. Leo stood on a balcony overlooking the main avenue. Lights pulsed, cars stopped and started rhythmically. People moved almost like an army in perfect dissonance. Mal was beside him, tense, aware that one wrong choice could unravel everything. "They're testing you," Mal muttered. "Someone's gonna push it too far." Leo exhaled. "Let them. The city obeys me, but not blindly. Every action has a reaction." A shout rang out below. A gang, bold and loud, challenged his authority. Words, threats, guns. Chaos attempting to force the city back into randomness. Leo stepped down onto the street, not angry, not aggressive, calm. The silent figure followed closely, a shadow sharpened into steel. One movement of his hand, the gang froze mid-step. Words halted. Guns hovered in the air. The Burg itself responded. Leo's voice cut the silence. Obey or be corrected. They fled, not by fear of him, but by instinctive understanding of the city's pulse. The Burg itself had acted through him. Mal whispered, awed, It obeyed you, the city itself." Leo's eyes scanned the horizon. "Not me, the Burg. I'm just its instrument." Chapter 42. The Hidden Restriction. The voodoo woman appeared again. Not in the open, not publicly, but inside the pulse of the city, within the rhythm he felt. "You have learned authority," she said. Her voice was everywhere and nowhere. "But authority has limits. You do not bend everything. Some threads cannot be touched. Some hearts cannot be swayed." Leo tensed. "Limits? I've obeyed every rule. I've survived every test. What do you want now?" "A restriction," she replied. "You may lead, but you may not save everyone. Some lives are not yours to protect. Test the boundaries of mercy, and you will see the ledger does not forgive indecision." Mal's eyes went wide. "So, some people die no matter what?" Leo didn't answer. He felt it, the ledger flicking, measuring, whispering. Every choice was now a potential loss. Every step carried consequence. "Then we act wisely," Leo said finally. "Obedience alone isn't enough. We lead, but we must measure every life." The city pulsed in agreement or in warning. The Burg had a new test, Leo's restraint, and failure meant more than death. Chapter 43. Mal's Influence. Mal had been silent, obedient, afraid, but something had shifted. The city's pulse, the ledger's weight, and Leo's leadership had given him clarity. "Leo," Mal said quietly, "I've learned. I can help." Leo's brow furrowed. "Help? This isn't a game. The Burg is alive. The ledger is unforgiving. You survived because of obedience, not initiative." "I know," Mal said, "but I've been carrying the weight you left me with. I understand now. Patterns, rhythm, consequences. I can act in tandem. I can extend your control." The silent figure observed, presence sharp. "This is unprecedented. The ledger does not share conduits willingly. Two channels may cause imbalance." Leo shook his head, but a small smile tugged at his lips. "Then we try, carefully, together." Mal nodded, his body tense with purpose. Together. The city pulsed around them, testing, alive, aware. And for the first time, Leo felt a measure of trust. Not blind trust, not naive trust, obedient, tested, proven trust. The Burg waited, the ledger watched, and now there were two instruments shaping its rhythm. Chapter 44, Dual Conduction. The city hummed in anticipation. Leo and Mal stood on the roof of a skyscraper, neon lights reflecting off their faces like liquid fire. Below, the streets writhed with life, chaotic yet orderly, ready to obey the slightest signal. "Are you sure about this?" Mal asked, nerves taut. Leo nodded slowly. "We've trained for this. The Burg listens, but two instruments? That's risky. One mistake, and it could turn on us, or anyone around us." The silent figure hovered behind them, observing. Two channels may fracture the balance, but synergy can amplify control beyond comprehension. Leo exhaled. "Then we do this, together." They stepped off the roof onto the balcony overlooking the central avenue. Cars slowed. People froze mid-step. Chaos paused, as if holding its breath. Leo raised his hand slightly. Mal mirrored him. Rhythm matched. The city responded, not as one conduit, but as two. The pulse deepened. Lights flickered in perfect harmony, and the streets bent subtly under their joint influence. For a moment, it worked flawlessly. Power flowed, balanced, controlled. Then a shout rang from an alley, a gang testing the limits. Leo and Mal moved in unison. The city obeyed them both, but just for a heartbeat. The silent figure leaned forward. The ledger measures unity and fracture. One misstep, one hesitation, and it will punish. A car skidded suddenly. Mal faltered. Leo adjusted. The balance snapped, but only briefly. Control was regained, but the city reminded them sharply. The Burg tolerates no error. They exhaled together. For the first time, they felt the raw, exhilarating power of shared control. Chapter 45, The Sacrifice Demand. The voodoo woman appeared on the edge of their vision, voice low, deadly. "You have learned synergy," she said, "but balance demands a price." Mal's stomach twisted. Price? Leo's hand tightened instinctively. Who? What? "A sacrifice," she replied. "One life must be offered to prove the ledger that two instruments can coexist without corrupting its rhythm." Mal went pale. "No, not again." Leo's jaw tightened. "There has to be another way." She shook her head. "No hesitation, no negotiation. Obedience demands payment. The ledger must be balanced." Mal looked at Leo, fear and defiance warring in his eyes. You're not letting it be me, are you?" Leo swallowed hard. "Not if I can help it, but the choice isn't mine alone." The silent figure stepped between them. "This is the ultimate test. The ledger observes not only obedience, but mercy under pressure. Your choice defines the next chapter of the city's rhythm." Time froze. People continued walking. Music pulsed. Cars hummed. But Leo and Mal were suspended in a moment of fate. Chapter 46, The First Battle. The city itself became an opponent. The streets twisted unpredictably, lights flickering, traffic surging, pedestrians scattering. The ledger wasn't punishing, they weren't failing. It was testing the limits of two conduits. Leo and Mal moved in unison, hands outstretched, gestures subtle but precise. Their control flowed into the streets. The city resisted. Buildings trembled. Neon stuttered. The Burg pulsed like a living heart, angry, alive, aware. Mal faltered briefly. A car barreled too fast. Leo reacted instantly, redirecting the pulse. A bus swerved, obeying the rhythm. Pedestrians froze mid-step. Chaos bent to their combined will, but at a cost. The ledger flared in Leo's chest, burning him with every heartbeat. The silent figure whispered, "The Burg is alive. It will fight you, and it will punish weakness." Mal gritted his teeth. I can't. It's too much." "You can," Leo said, voice sharp. "We can. Together. Don't hesitate. Don't falter. The ledger judges the moment, not the fear." Hours, or maybe minutes, passed in a blur of rhythm, control, correction. The city tried to rebel, tried to fracture them, tried to punish. But Leo and Mal held. The first battle against the Burg itself had begun, and for the first time, they were not just surviving, they were fighting back. The silent figure watched, presence tense. Survival is no longer enough. You must master, or the ledger will claim what you cannot protect. Chapter 47. Sacrifices looming. The city breathed uneasily. Leo and Mal had survived their first battle, but the ledger was never satisfied with victories. The voodoo woman appeared atop a high-rise, eyes like knives, and spoke across the pulse of the Burg. "Balance demands more. One life, two lives. It is not enough. The ledger hungers. Obedience without cost is meaningless." Mal's hands shook. "Not again. We just survived." Leo's jaw tightened. "We survive because we obey, but obedience isn't enough anymore. The ledger is testing us, seeing if we can endure true consequence." The streets twisted below them. Cars moved unpredictably. People hesitated mid-step. The city itself seemed to breathe in fear. "You will choose," the woman said, "and the ledger will claim what you refuse to surrender." Mal swallowed hard. "And if we refuse?" Leo exhaled slowly, eyes scanning the neon-lit chaos. "Then it decides for us, and we may lose more than lives. We may lose control." The silent figure stepped beside them. The ledger does not forgive hesitation. Sacrifice is the only proof of mastery. Above them, the city pulsed. Every neon light, every siren, every rhythm aligned into a single heartbeat. The heartbeat of a test that would either cement their rule or destroy them entirely. Chapter 48. Mal's fracture. Hours or perhaps minutes passed. The city pulsed, and Mal felt the ledger burning in his chest like fire. He faltered. A bus barreled through an intersection too fast. Pedestrians screamed, frozen mid-step. Mal's hand shook. Leo caught his arm, steadying him, but the ledger flared. "You hesitate," Leo said, voice low but cutting, "and the Burg notices." I can't," Mal whispered, panic rising. "It's too much. I'm losing it." The silent figure moved closer, shadow sharp. "Fracture is part of learning, but survival demands coherence. If you fracture, the city punishes indiscriminately." Mal clenched his fists, teeth gritted, and forced his rhythm back into the pulse of the Burg. Cars swerved, people moved, chaos bent. But inside him, he felt something break. A piece of innocence, a piece of trust, a piece of self. Leo's gaze hardened. "You're stronger than you know. Survive, obey, endure. That's all the ledger asks." Mal nodded, swallowing hard, but the fracture inside him was permanent. Obedience had survived, but at a cost. Chapter 49. The voodoo woman intervenes. The voodoo woman descended from the shadows, stepping directly into the chaos of the streets. "You lead," she said, voice everywhere at once. "But you have not yet felt the true weight of the ledger." Leo's hands went up instinctively. What do you want?" "I will push you," she replied. "You will feel the Burg's wrath firsthand. You will choose under impossible pressure. One mistake, and you will lose more than life. Mal stumbled beside him. Leo, what do we do? Leo exhaled slowly, eyes narrowing. We act together. We've learned this rhythm. We survive and we fight back. This is the moment the Burg wants, but we define it. The city roared, alive with anticipation. Neon flickered, cars screamed, pedestrians froze and swayed unnaturally. The Burg itself had become the battlefield. The voodoo woman's eyes glowed faintly. Show me your mastery. Show me you are more than obedience. Show me you are the conductor the city demands. Leo glanced at Mal, voice steady. We do this together. No hesitation, no doubt. We shape the Burg or we fall. The silent figure nodded. This is your crucible. Survive it, and the ledger will remember you as more than a conduit. Fail, and everything you hold dear is lost. The streets twisted into motion. The city waited. The ledger watched. And the true test of power over life, over loyalty, over the Burg itself had begun. Chapter 50. The Crucible begins. The city quivered beneath them. Neon lights fractured across skyscrapers. Traffic jerked like a living creature. People froze mid-step. The pulse of the Burg was no longer subtle. It was a roar demanding attention. Leo and Mal stood shoulder to shoulder, hands raised slightly, attuned to the rhythm of the city. This is it, Leo whispered. No mistakes. Every gesture counts. The voodoo woman appeared on the roof across the avenue, eyes glowing, smile sharp as a blade. You have survived, but now you face your greatest test, she said. The city itself will challenge you. Every life it touches, every beat it makes, is your responsibility. Mal's chest tightened. We can do this? Leo glanced at him, jaw set. We have to. Hesitation is death. Control is survival. The streets surged with life and chaos. A bus skidded. Pedestrians froze mid-step. A gang of young hustlers attempted to create disorder. Leo and Mal moved in tandem. Cars slowed. Lights flickered in sync. People followed the rhythm instinctively. The city tested them. Every misstep would be punishment. Every hesitation, a price. And the ledger watched, burning inside Leo, reminding him that perfection was demanded. Chapter 51. Sacrifices and Strains. The Burg's pulse intensified. The voodoo woman's voice echoed, low and deadly. One life must prove obedience, she said. Choose wisely, or the city will choose for you. Mal's eyes widened. Not again. Leo clenched his fists. I won't let the ledger claim what isn't necessary. But the test is real. Someone must bear the cost. It might be me. It might be Mal. It might be someone else entirely. A crowd surged in the central plaza. Chaos threatened to spiral. Cars swerved. Shouts pierced the night. The ledger flared in Leo's chest. Mal trembled. Leo, you can't. I can't. Leo grabbed his friend's shoulder. We survive because we obey and because we lead. Together, we focus. We make the choice. Hesitation is the enemy. A figure stumbled into the plaza, a homeless man caught in the surge of city rhythm. Time slowed. Leo felt the ledger urging him. Sacrifice demanded attention. He raised his hand. Mal mirrored him. Cars skidded. People froze. The choice was clear. Allow the city to claim one, or intervene and bear the cost themselves. They acted together, bending the rhythm, saving the man. But the ledger burned all the same. Obedience alone had not ended the cost. The lesson was heavier. Survival demanded both mercy and precision. Chapter 52. The Voodoo Woman's Motive. The voodoo woman stepped fully into the street, her eyes locking on Leo. "You have survived the crucible," she said, "but survival is only the beginning. The ledger tests obedience, but my goal is mastery." Leo's voice was steady. Mastery of what? Control of the city? Of life? She smiled faintly. "Control is meaningless if it is blind. I did not teach you to obey. I taught you to lead while obeying, to balance mercy and consequence, to bend the Burg without breaking yourself." Mal shook his head. "So all this, all the chaos, it was preparation?" "Preparation for power," she said. "The ledger measures obedience. I measure intent. One day, the city will obey not just through you, but because of you. And when that day comes, you will no longer be conduits. You will be rulers." Leo absorbed the words. The city pulsed around them, alive, waiting, hungry. The ledger flared. The silent figure shifted, approving silently. Leo exhaled. "Then we keep moving. We survive, we lead, and we carry the weight." The woman's smile lingered. "Yes, but remember this. Mastery has a price. One day, the Burg will demand more than obedience. It will demand your soul." The city breathed. Music, lights, life, all attuned to the rhythm of two men who had survived impossible tests. But the true challenge, to become rulers of the Burg itself, had only just begun. Chapter 53. Rulers of the Burg. The city had changed. No longer just a place to survive. It had become a canvas, and Leo and Mao were its conductors. Every street, every neon sign, every pulse of life was now in tune with their rhythm. "Look at it," Mao whispered, awe creeping into his voice. "It's listening." Leo's eyes scanned the horizon. Not listening, responding. We give direction, it obeys. But we must remain precise. One wrong move, one hesitation, and the balance collapses. The silent figure hovered nearby. Authority is not given. It is taken, measured, and maintained. The Burg obeys because it fears chaos more than your mercy. Leo nodded. "Then we lead, carefully, strategically, together." They walked down the central avenue. Cars slowed, pedestrians adjusted mid-step, streetlights pulsed to the rhythm of their presence. Mal smiled faintly. "I never thought we'd be rulers of something like this." Leo's gaze hardened. Rulers don't get to enjoy it. We survive, we lead, we bear the weight. That's all. The Burg pulsed around them, alive, watching, waiting, and now obeying. Chapter 54. Fractures in Trust. But no ruler escapes challenge. A gang had slipped through the cracks, bold, ambitious, reckless. They tested the rhythm, attempting to break the obedience Leo and Mao had built. Mao reacted too slowly. A car swerved dangerously. Pedestrians froze mid-chaos, caught between control and rebellion. Leo barked sharply. "Mao, focus. Don't hesitate." "I'm trying," Mao shouted, panic in his eyes. The silent figure's presence loomed. Fracture is inevitable when one wavers. The ledger punishes delay. The city does not forgive weakness. Leo exhaled, eyes narrowing. He realigned Mao's movements subtly with his own, bending the rhythm back into balance. But the trust had been tested, and Mao's confidence wavered. Mao muttered under his breath, voice tight. I don't want to fail you, or the city." "You won't," Leo said, voice low but sharp. But remember this, ruling the Burg requires more than obedience. It requires control under pressure you can barely survive. The city pulsed, tension high, reminding them both, even rulers are vulnerable. Chapter 55, The Ledger's Ultimate Test. The voodoo woman appeared again, her eyes burning with quiet intensity. "You have led," she said. "You have survived chaos. You have shared control, but the ledger demands proof of loyalty, courage, and sacrifice beyond what you've endured." Mal swallowed hard. What now? Leo clenched his jaw. "Whatever it is, we face it together." She stepped forward, voice soft but deadly. "One of you will be tested beyond endurance. One life may hang in the balance, not for survival, but for mastery." The city shivered. Cars stopped mid-street. Neon lights flickered. Pedestrians froze. The ledger's pulse surged violently inside Leo's chest. Mal turned to him. "Leo, if it's me..." "No," Leo interrupted. "You've carried too much already. We face this together, but we don't falter. The ledger tests, we answer, without hesitation." The voodoo woman's smile widened faintly. "Then prove it. Survive, lead, sacrifice, and the Burg will remember your names forever." Lightning of energy pulsed through the streets. The test had begun, sharper, higher stakes, more impossible than anything before. The city itself had become the battlefield, and now there would be no margin for error. Chapter 56, The Crucible Tightens. The city groaned under their feet. Every street, every neon light, every car pulse became a weapon and a test. The ledger flared violently in Leo's chest, demanding perfection. Mal stumbled. His rhythm broke slightly. A pedestrian nearly got hit. A car swerved dangerously. "Mal," Leo barked. "Focus." Mal swallowed hard. "I'm trying. It's too much." The silent figure hovered close. "Fracture is not failure, unless you hesitate. Do not falter. The ledger punishes doubt." The voodoo woman appeared on a rooftop, arms crossed, eyes gleaming. The Burg tests endurance, precision, and courage. Only one mistake, and the city will claim what it deems necessary. Leo exhaled, steadying his friend. "We've survived chaos before. Now we survive ourselves." Together, they moved in perfect synchrony. The city responded. The ledger flared, then calmed. But the first strike had been a warning. Even rulers of the Burg are fragile. Chapter 57, Mal's Breaking Point. Hours, or maybe seconds later, the ledger's pressure bore down on Mal. A group of reckless drivers pushed the limits. A pedestrian screamed mid-step, and chaos threatened to fracture the rhythm. Mal froze, eyes wide. I can't," he gasped. "It's too much. I'll fail." Leo grabbed his shoulder. "No, you won't. Breathe. Obey the rhythm. Trust yourself. Trust me." The city pulsed around them, alive, testing, threatening. The ledger's fire burned in Mal's chest, pain and instinct intertwining. I feel it, inside me. It's too heavy," Mal whispered. Leo's gaze hardened. "Then channel it. Don't fight it. Let the city guide you, not control you. Survival is precision, not fear." Mal exhaled, tears in his eyes, and shifted. Slowly, carefully, the rhythm returned. The city obeyed. The silent figure hovered behind them. Fracture was inevitable. Survival was optional. You endured and earned a fragment of mastery. Mal collapsed slightly but nodded. Obedience alone had saved him, but at a cost he would never forget. Chapter 58, Facing the Voodoo Woman. The voodoo woman descended into the street itself, her presence cutting through the neon-lit chaos. You have survived the crucible of the Burg, she said, but survival is meaningless if you do not confront its source. Leo stepped forward, chest tight, pulse raging. I'm ready. Whatever you want, whatever test, whatever cost, we face it. Her eyes glimmered with dark amusement. You think obedience alone is mastery? You think leadership is enough? But the Burg judges intent, not survival. It measures sacrifice, mercy, and courage. Mal stepped beside him, shaky but resolute. We're together. Whatever it is, we face it. The city pulsed violently. Cars stopped mid-street, pedestrians froze mid-step. Neon signs flickered. The ledger flared with every heartbeat. You will answer my challenge, she said softly. Fail, and the city will reclaim its rhythm without mercy. Succeed, and you will rule not just obedience, but the soul of the Burg itself. Leo exhaled slowly, his jaw set. Then we begin. The city waited, the ledger flared, and the ultimate test of mastery, sacrifice, and control had begun. Chapter 59, Coordination Under Fire. The city throbbed like a living creature, every street a vein, every neon light a pulse. Leo and Mal moved through the chaos, hands outstretched, their movements perfectly synchronized. A single misstep would cost lives, possibly their own. Cars swerved dangerously. Pedestrians froze mid-motion. Alleyways lit up with neon flashes as gangs tried to break their rhythm. You ready? Leo whispered. Mal swallowed hard. I think so. They moved in tandem, bending traffic, adjusting lights, controlling chaos. The ledger flared in Leo's chest, an inferno demanding absolute precision. A bus barreled straight toward a crowd. Mal faltered. Time slowed. Mal, Leo shouted, grabbing his friend's arm, aligning him instantly. The bus stopped mid-street, inches from catastrophe. The silent figure hovered nearby. Coordination achieved, but at great strain. Two instruments must endure pain as one to maintain order. Mal gasped, sweat dripping. I can't. It's too much. You can, Leo said, voice steady. Focus, breathe, survive. They did, for now. But the ledger's warning burned in every pulse. Perfection must be constant. Chapter 60, The First True Consequence. A scream ripped through the central plaza. A young woman had stumbled into the path of a speeding vehicle. Time slowed. Leo and Mal's synchronized rhythm flared, but the ledger flared brighter, demanding more. Leo glanced at Mal. We can't save her with hesitation. Move with me. Mal's hand shook. He mirrored Leo's movements, every gesture precise. Cars swerved, lights flickered, pedestrians froze mid-step. But the ledger demanded a sacrifice of awareness. Someone must feel the pain to restore balance. The young woman stumbled but was unharmed. Leo's chest burned with the ledger's punishment for their mercy. Pain flared. Obedience alone wasn't enough. They had bent the rules, and the ledger made them pay mentally. Mal whispered, voice trembling. Did we do the right thing? Leo's jaw clenched. The ledger measures consequences, not intent. We survived. That's all we can do. The silent figure remained, expression unreadable. Every act of mercy carries cost. Remember this. The city pulsed around them, alive, aware, hungry. Chapter 61. The Voodoo Woman's Full Force. The voodoo woman stepped into the heart of the plaza. Neon flickered violently. Streetlights stuttered. Cars froze mid-motion. Pedestrians stopped, suspended like living statues. You have survived the trials, she said, voice slicing through the chaos. But you have yet to confront the truth of the ledger and of me. Leo's eyes narrowed. What truth? She smiled faintly. I am not the Burg. I am its guardian, its teacher, its measure. And now you face my test. Lightning crackled through the streets. The city itself resisted. Buildings trembled. Neon lights flashed in chaotic rhythm. You will bend the city to your will, not partially, not in fragments, but fully, she said. Every heartbeat, every breath, every life, you will account for it. Only then will the ledger recognize your mastery. Mal stepped closer to Leo. We can't. Yes, we can, Leo said, jaw tight. Together, we've made it this far. No hesitation now, no faltering. The city obeys because we lead. The voodoo woman's eyes gleamed. Then begin. The Burg will test your limits, and I will see if your souls are strong enough to command it fully. The city roared around them. Time slowed, twisted, and pulsed. Neon lights bled like liquid fire. The ultimate trial had begun. Chapter 62. The Burg Strikes Back. The city pulsed violently, like a beast roused from slumber. Every street, every neon light, every heartbeat of the Burg rebelled against Leo and Mal's control. Traffic surged, pedestrians froze and jerked unpredictably. Lights flickered like warnings. The ledger flared, burning through Leo's chest, demanding absolute perfection. Mal faltered. A car swerved dangerously, inches from a pedestrian. Mal, align with me, Leo shouted, voice slicing through the chaos. His hands moved with precision, bending the city's rhythm. Mal mirrored him, trembling, sweat dripping. Together, they forced the city back into obedience, just barely. The silent figure hovered behind them, shadows sharp. The Burg resists you. Every pulse tests the limits. One mistake, and you will pay more than you imagine. The city groaned. Neon lights flickered like heartbeat warnings. Buildings trembled. Chaos whispered that it could undo them in an instant. Leo gritted his teeth. We survive, or the city wins. Focus, Mal. No hesitation, no fear. Move as one. Mal nodded, trembling but determined. Together. Chapter 63. The Breaking Point. Hours or maybe seconds later, the Burg's assault intensified. A gang of reckless youths surged through the streets. Cars skidded dangerously, and pedestrians froze mid-motion in terrifying positions. The ledger flared violently in both Leo and Mal's chests. Mal stumbled, nearly falling into the path of a moving vehicle. Leo grabbed him, steadying him instantly. You can't falter now, Leo yelled. We endure this, or the Burg takes everything. The silent figure's presence sharpened. Sacrifice will be demanded. Obedience alone will not suffice. Then it happened. A structural collapse in a nearby alley. A neon sign fell toward a crowd. Leo reacted instinctively, bending the rhythm of the city to save them, but the ledger punished him for hesitation. Pain burned like fire, testing his will. Mal gasped, trembling. Leo, it's too much. I can't. You can, Leo snapped, voice steady, eyes blazing. Trust the rhythm. Trust me. Trust yourself. The ledger judges action, not doubt. Together, they moved, bending the Burg's chaos into a fragile order. But the ledger reminded them sharply, balance. Chapter 64. Revelation of the Voodoo Woman. The Voodoo Woman stepped fully into the chaos, her presence radiant, terrifying. You have endured the city's wrath, she said. You have survived impossible trials, but now you face the truth. Leo's eyes narrowed. What truth? What have you been hiding? Her smile was faint but knowing. The ledger does not exist to punish. It exists to reveal who is worthy of true mastery. I did not guide you to obedience alone. I guided you to leadership, sacrifice, and courage, to see if you could survive yourself. Mal blinked. So all this, it was a test for us? Yes, she replied. The city obeys those who prove they can bear its weight. Its pulse measures not fear, but intent. And now, Leo, Mal, you are ready. Lightning crackled through the streets. Neon lights pulsed in sync with the Burg's heartbeat. Pedestrians and cars were frozen mid-chaos. The ledger flared violently, then calmed. Leo exhaled slowly, jaw tight. Ready for what? The final test, she said softly. One last challenge, to cement your rule and claim the Burg not just as conductors, but as masters. Only then will obedience become loyalty, and chaos, respect. The city waited, tense and alive. The ultimate moment of mastery, the one that would define them forever, was here. Chapter 65, The Final Confrontation. The city roared like a living beast, every street a vein, every neon light a heartbeat. Leo and Mal stood side by side, sweat dripping, muscles tense. Cars swerved violently, pedestrians froze mid-step, and the ledger flared in both their chests like fire. This is it, Leo said, voice low but firm. No hesitation, no doubt. The Burg tests everything now, our skill, our will, our courage. Mal nodded, jaw tight. Together, always. The voodoo woman's eyes glowed across the plaza. The final test is not chaos, it is you. Bend the city, or it will bend you. Lightning flashed. The city pulsed violently. Neon signs flickered. Traffic surged, threatening chaos. Leo and Mal moved in perfect unison, bending the rhythm of the Burg itself. Buildings trembled. The ledger flared, punishing even the slightest hesitation. But they adapted instinctively, guiding chaos into order. The Burg fought back, every pulse a challenge, every heartbeat a test. But Leo and Mal endured. Chapter 66, The Ultimate Sacrifice. A scream echoed from the central avenue. A young child had wandered into the chaos, frozen mid-step. Cars swerved dangerously. Neon lights flickered violently. The ledger flared with judgment, demanding action and payment. Mal gasped. Leo, it's her. What do we do? Leo's chest burned with the ledger's fire. We save her, but we accept the cost. One life will bear the weight of the Burg's lesson. Without hesitation, Leo extended his hand, bending the rhythm around the child to safety. But the ledger struck. Pain shot through him. Sweat poured. His vision blurred. The ledger demanded balance, and the cost was his own energy, his own vitality, his own soul burning briefly in the pulse of the city. Mal rushed to his side. Leo, you can't. Leo shook his head weakly, voice low. It's the only way. Survival isn't enough. The ledger measures sacrifice too. The child was safe. The city calmed slightly. The ledger flared, then dimmed. A silent acknowledgement of the lesson learned. Chapter 67, Mastery Achieved. The voodoo woman descended into the plaza fully, her presence serene now, almost reverent. You have survived, she said softly, not by obedience alone, not by fear, but by mastery, leadership, sacrifice, courage, intent. You have proven worthy. Mal exhaled, trembling. So, it's over? Leo shook his head slowly, eyes scanning the neon-lit chaos. Not over. The Burg never stops. But we've survived the impossible, and now it obeys because it respects us. The ledger burned gently in their chests, no longer punishing, only acknowledging. You are no longer conduits, the woman said. You are masters. The city's pulse flows through you, and through you it will thrive or falter. But know this, mastery is eternal vigilance. The city listens, and now it obeys loyally. Mal smiled faintly, exhausted but relieved. We did it. Leo's gaze hardened. We did more than survive. We lead, and we bear the weight together. The silent figure nodded from the shadows. The Burg pulsed around them, alive, obedient, respectful. And for the first time, Leo and Mal truly understood what it meant to command the heartbeat of the city itself. The voodoo woman vanished slowly, leaving only her lesson. Power requires sacrifice, mastery demands courage, and the Burg never forgets. Chapter 68. The City Reborn. The neon lights no longer flickered chaotically. The streets moved in rhythm, alive but stable. The Burg, once a chaotic, unpredictable force, now pulsed steadily under Leo and Mal's guidance. Mal walked down the central avenue, watching cars glide smoothly and pedestrians flow naturally. It feels different, alive, but peaceful. Leo nodded, eyes scanning the horizon. It's listening, but it's obeying, willingly. That's what mastery means. The silent figure appeared behind them, almost like a shadow of approval. The city has accepted its rulers. Obedience became loyalty. Chaos became order. Mal smiled faintly. We actually did it. We changed it for the better. Leo's jaw tightened. We did. But change comes with responsibility. Every pulse, every heartbeat, it's on us now. The city pulsed beneath their feet, alive, aware, and fully in their command. For the first time, the Burg wasn't a threat, it was a partner. Chapter 69. The Bond Forged. The chaos behind them faded, but the trials had left their mark. Mal sat on the edge of a rooftop, exhaustion in his bones. I don't think I'll ever forget that, or any of it. Leo sat beside him. Neither will I, but we survived, together. That's what matters. Mal laughed softly, shaking his head. I never thought we'd make it. I mean, we almost didn't. Leo smirked faintly. Almost is enough if we learn from it. We're stronger now, smarter. The Ledger, the Burg, they tested us, but we didn't break. The silent figure watched from a distance. Their presence was subtle but comforting, a reminder that some lessons were never spoken. They were simply endured. Mal turned to Leo, eyes serious. Promise me, whatever comes next, we face it together. No hesitation. Leo placed a hand on his shoulder. Always. We've proven we survive chaos. Now we thrive in it. The city below pulsed steadily, obedient yet alive, and their bond, forged in fire and rhythm, had become unbreakable. Chapter 70. The Final Revelation. The voodoo woman reappeared in the central plaza, her aura calm but powerful. You have mastered the Burg, she said softly, but mastery is not the end. It is recognition. The Ledger will no longer punish, it will acknowledge. And now you understand what few ever do. Leo's eyes narrowed. What is it? The city is alive, she said. Not in the way you think. It listens, it obeys, it remembers. And one day it will test you again. But you have proven worthy. You can shape it, guide it, and carry its pulse without being consumed. Mal exhaled slowly. So, we're truly rulers now. Yes, she replied. But remember this, the Burg never sleeps. Mastery is eternal vigilance. Obedience is fleeting. Loyalty must be earned every heartbeat. You have learned sacrifice, courage, and leadership. That is the ultimate secret. She vanished, leaving only the hum of the city and the gentle pulse of the ledger in their chests. Leo and Mal looked at one another. No words were needed. They had survived chaos, endured the impossible, and now the Burg listened. The city pulsed, alive, obedient, and loyal. And Leo and Mal were its heartbeat. Chapter 70, The Final Revelation. The voodoo woman reappeared in the central plaza, her aura calm but powerful. "You have mastered the Burg," she said softly. "But mastery is not the end. It is recognition. The ledger will no longer punish. It will acknowledge. And now you understand what few ever do." Leo's eyes narrowed. "What is it?" "The city is alive," she said. "Not in the way you think. It listens. It obeys. It remembers. And one day it will test you again. But you have proven worthy. You can shape it, guide it, and carry its pulse without being consumed." Mal exhaled slowly. "So, we're truly rulers now." "Yes," she replied. "But remember this, the Burg never sleeps. Mastery is eternal vigilance. Obedience is fleeting. Loyalty must be earned every heartbeat. You have learned sacrifice, courage, and leadership. That is the ultimate secret." She vanished, leaving only the hum of the city and the gentle pulse of the ledger in their chests. Leo and Mal looked at one another. No words were needed. They had survived chaos, endured the impossible, and now the Burg listened. The city pulsed, alive, obedient, and loyal. And Leo and Mal were its heartbeat. Chapter 72, The Weight Carried. Even in peace, the ledger's pulse remained in their chests, gentler, acknowledging, but constant. Leo perched on the edge of a rooftop overlooking the city. "You know, I feel it every second, the weight of everything, all the chaos, all the sacrifice. It's ours now." Mal leaned beside him, heavy, but worth it. "We've survived death, chaos, and ourselves. Nothing can unseat us now." Leo exhaled slowly. "It's not about unseating anyone. It's about holding balance. Every life, every heartbeat, it's all connected. That's what we control." Mal nodded. "And we do it together, always." The city pulsed quietly below, loyal but alive, echoing the silent bond between the two of them. They had survived the impossible and now bore the eternal responsibility of the Burg's heartbeat. Chapter 73. A hint of tomorrow night fell again, but the city was calm, alive, obedient, yet subtly unpredictable, as if it still remembered chaos. Leo looked toward the horizon. "We've mastered today, but the Burg, it never sleeps. Every pulse is a lesson, every heartbeat a challenge." Mal smirked faintly, leaning against a lamppost. "Then we're ready for tomorrow. Whatever it brings, we face it together. That's how we survived everything else." A faint shimmer passed through the streets, almost imperceptible, a reminder that the city's pulse is eternal and its lessons never truly end. The silent figure appeared once more in the shadows, nodding approvingly, then vanished. The Burg had been shaped, tamed, yet alive. Leo and Mal had learned its rhythm, mastered its chaos, and cemented their bond, not just with the city, but with each other. The voodoo woman's lesson echoed in their minds. Mastery demands sacrifice, vigilance, and courage, always. And the Burg pulsed on. Chapter 74, The Eternal Pulse. Dawn broke over the Burg, soft light washing over streets that now hummed with a quiet, steady rhythm. The chaos of yesterday was a memory, but the city's heartbeat remained alive, constant, and aware. Leo stood on the highest rooftop, looking down at the streets he and Mal had shaped. Neon signs flickered faintly in greeting, cars flowed smoothly, and pedestrians moved freely, yet obediently, to a rhythm only he and Mal fully understood. Mal joined him silently, shoulders relaxed but eyes sharp. It's alive, but in a way that listens, not in a way that hurts. Leo nodded. The ledger, the Burg, they don't forgive carelessness, but they respect strength, sacrifice, and courage. We've proven ourselves, and now we hold the pulse. A breeze stirred the rooftops, carrying faint echoes of the chaos they had survived. The screams, the fire, the collapsing neon, the ledger's punishing blaze. But it no longer terrified them. It reminded them of their journey, their bond, and their mastery. Mal laughed softly, the sound a relief and a celebration. We did it. We survived everything. Leo's gaze hardened, thoughtful. Surviving isn't enough. We have to maintain this, protect it. The Burg will always test us. Every heartbeat is a reminder. But now, we lead. From the shadows, the silent figure watched one last time, nodding slowly. Then they faded, leaving only the hum of the city and the eternal pulse of life itself. The voodoo woman's words lingered in their minds. Mastery is eternal vigilance. Obedience is fleeting. Loyalty must be earned every heartbeat. Leo and Mal looked at each other, smiles faint but knowing. They were ready. They had endured death, chaos, and sacrifice. They had bent the Burg to their will and survived themselves. The city pulsed beneath their feet, alive, obedient, and loyal. Its heartbeat was theirs now. And so the Burg continued, eternal, ever watchful, and alive. But Leo and Mal were no longer just survivors. They were the heart of the city itself. And the pulse never stopped. You've been listening to Summer in the Burg, written by Jermaine Simpson, narrated by Swapaveli.